Oh, really? We got that on there?
Yeah, I mean, we're live now.
Sweet.
Yeah. So, welcome, everybody. This is the Objective Behavior Podcast. And if you do happen to watch this live on Twitch, you might wonder why it's under DJ Traction. That's because I play music and talk shit, are kind of the two things I do. And since COVID, I really haven't been able to play music as much as I used to. So I'm talking more shit, I guess. And, I mean, that's just the truth of it, right? I'm not going to go through all the trouble of making a new Twitch when there are some followers on this one. So let's start it this way. The audio will be up anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you're listening to this, I'm sure you've figured it out already. And I have an awesome friend and co-host here. To my right, might look like the left if you're watching this. I'm not sure. But why don't you introduce yourself, tell people who you are, and why you are here.
Yeah, man. So I'm Alex. Josh had started this podcast a while ago and brought me in on an alien topic, and it was a lot of fun. And we wound up talking through. And I've known Josh a long time, and when he mentioned putting together this fun podcast or video podcast, I'm like, I'm all in. Let's have fun with this. Let's point out what the heck people are talking about, and just isolate the idiot opinions and hone in on the well thought out rational opinions, and try to give broad perspective. And in a world where tons of misinformation and crazy radical opinions in every direction, we're hoping to maybe bring some clarity or level-headed thought while being cognizant of everything and both sides.
Exactly.
So.
Some type of objective thought and discussion, because everybody seems like they're just at each other's throats when they are when they're talking online and even in person in certain areas and in certain confrontations. So we think we can slowly but surely maybe even make the world a better place just by, all right, what's the issue? What are people mad about? So let's talk about this rationally. Let's try to come to some sort of understanding. We're not here to change people's minds and stuff like that, because you might be like, well, what is your qualification for taking on such a task?
We might change your fucking mind, though. I'm just putting that out there, because sometimes, going keyboard warrior against the keyboard warrior just becomes a battle of insults. And
so we're going to try to avoid that part.
Yeah.
Not going to try to insult people. That doesn't progress the conversation anywhere.
We are holding to respect and integrity, but respect for one another, which is like a huge deal to us. Which is why Josh and I have actually been able to see differently on many things, even though we see a lot of things the same. But when we do see differently, we're able to nod and say, okay, I get that you see it that way. And we're hoping that any audience we garner from this, we have 3 viewers, we're hoping that you guys can see it the same way. It's just opinions can be different, and that is okay.
As long as you're being respectful about it, you're not being an asshole, and we are at least working in some realm of shared reality. So, we'll try to parse through all of that. Originally, I was like, all right, what are some of the topics people are talking about right now? You had the Breonna Taylor.
Oh, there's so much to talk about right now, Josh.
No, I know there is. So, we had kind of planned a certain direction, and then yesterday was the first 2020 presidential debate, and kind of what a shit show that was. So it's like, all right, I guess we have to kind of change gears and go with this, because it really is the kind of the antithesis of everything we just laid out, right? Like about just the way people talk to each other. This kind of encompasses all the negative that we've talked about. So let's try to shed some positive on it, I guess.
They definitely raised the bar on what the new norm of, respectful debate is, because I guess you could say they lowered the bar really low.
It would be hard to limbo under it.
Shut up, man. Sorry, I had to just throw one out. Oh man!
Okay.
All right.
So that's how we're gonna start. All right, clown.
No.
All right, clown.
Yeah, so that was it was a presidential evening to say if I were to totally lie to anybody listening, because that was not very presidential. I felt like from the start, to be honest with you, we don't even need to talk about the second they took the stage, but let's talk about the second they rolled air, and I thought I was watching a Knicks Bulls NBA Finals mashup, with the edited video like overly dramatized. I don't know. That already didn't feel presidential. It felt, media focused and
I mean, it is a
emotional.
broadcast for TV, right? There's going to be some production value, whatever there. I actually thought the most civil part of it was the first thing Biden said when it was his turn. He was like, "Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Mr. President." That was the most civil it was.
Yeah,
the whole
pretty
time.
much.
And at first, I'm like, okay, that's a good start. Like, I could get into where this is going. It devolved really, really quickly after that, and
I'm laughing. I can't stop laughing about it because it was just I guess I laugh at it when I'm nervous and I laugh when shit's funny. And that was like, it was funny how nervous I was being. It was making me because like some of the things you just can't believe it. You laugh at the things you're just like, oh, did he just say that? And that moment happened so many times last night.
Is it the type of laughing that just like to try to keep you from crying? And how like this is so sad that I need to find something funny in it. Otherwise, I'm gonna be really hurt inside.
You can't cry. I can't cry over this stuff. I don't get that emotional. I
didn't mean like I meant for like the future of the country. I meant like the dire straits that kind of made us feel like we were in.
Yeah.
That being said, my number one takeaway from that, and I watched it last night, half of it really late. And I rewatched it today, and kind of in preparation for this because I was all ready to talk about Breonna Taylor and some other stuff. And I was like, all right, now I gotta get on point with this other topic. And at first, I'm like, all right, we have Trump. Even the people that are voting for him will kind of readily admit he's kind of a dickhead. Like that's not a deal breaker for him. They're just like, yeah, he's kind of an asshole, but he's telling it like it is, and whatever. Cool. That's your feeling. I have no problems with that. And then, as far as Biden, man, I don't know. Before, I'd say everything that I've seen about him, people talking about him, posting this and that, has been about him being like almost an invalid, like incompetent, like he has dementia, he can't get sent, he can't talk at all. Like I was under the impression that they might not have this debate. Like Biden's going to get into a car accident on the way there or something. Like until they were on stage and started talking, I was like, I'm not believing that this is happening. And so with that kind of background, what I got from it is that I was scared at first. I'm like, oh, it's either 4 more years of the self-admitted asshole or God knows what, because he might not know what he's even doing or talking about from day to day. And this really relieved that kind of fear. I'm not scared if Biden wins. Like, he didn't seem like he was like old or out of shape and like couldn't comprehend stuff. I mean, he does have a speech impediment and, a learning disability or whatever. And aside from that, like, he didn't seem like he was forgetting stuff. He's obviously not as quick. Like, Trump would be awesome in like a roast battle or something like that. So he's definitely not there. But he didn't seem like he was getting overrun as far as like being confused and not knowing what to say and this and that. Like, he was getting talked over. That just is part of Trump's personality. But at the end of it, I was like, you know what? This doesn't seem like some of the other video examples that I've seen. Like, he doesn't seem like he's needs somebody to like hold him up as he's there and whisper in his ear. He seemed like this guy has it together.
I mean, I don't know. I didn't
you didn't quite feel that way?
I didn't quite see it that way. And that's okay. I feel like a lot of people, a lot of Democrats also didn't see it that way. And speaking of Democrats and leftists, shout out to Will Wagner, who is on the chat right now, along with I don't know who else is viewing, but if anyone else is there, chime in, say what's up, so we know you're there. We'll shout you out. We'll talk to you directly. Don't let Will dominate the chat, because he can, and he's awesome, and he will be the third typist member of our group here. So I don't know. I watched the whole thing, and I feel like these guys are coached psychologically, and debate tactics are like discussed in depth in studies, and it's like, if you have to assume that these two guys, this is the apex of the world of debate. So you have there's science behind what people do in debates, or mental games they play, even as far as body language. And I could tell that Biden was like switching between trying to try, and then like, all right, let me just go to the script real quick and make sure I get this out there just in case all else fails. And it seemed like every time he looked at the camera, he was doing that, and he was almost like reciting things. Trump was a complete he had complete disregard for the rules, for the moderator, for Biden. I don't think anything else was expected of him. That's his personality. That's what he does. He's pretty much a bully. What did that guy call him?
Which guy?
I don't even know. A boombastic?
Oh.
A boombastic? Or something like that.
A Shaggy fan?
Yeah, I have to look up what the word boombastic is because I've heard Trump referred to as boombastic. Boombastic?
It's like kind of like boastful, like loud.
Marked or given by speech or writing that is given exaggerated importance by artificial or empty means. Pompous or overblown. There you go. Yeah, so I mean, he talked through and over.
Wait, just to be clear, the person who called him that is a Trump supporter. Like, I don't remember his name either, but we were watching it. It was a guy that's on Fox News a lot. Like, he's definitely a Trump supporter. He said that he won the debate, and he did call him pompous. So that so we're not fighting about like, this guy said this about him. We're just putting it out of what happened and what's there. That's
it. So Will said Biden was ending his commercial every time he looked in the camera, which is so true. And then Trump was working improv. I don't think I think Trump's people really did just say, just go do your thing up there.
Because they know him. They know they're not. He's not going to listen.
And that's the thing. That's his
stick to a script.
That's also where he like almost like handles people, and you hope he's acting that way when he's not on camera publicly, when he's handling other international leaders that sometimes need to be a little handled. And I don't know. It's hard to decide if that debate made me feel better about either or worse about both. And I think most people will share that you kind of just feel worse about both people. Neither of them seem to redeem themselves against what everybody from both sides are saying. Like, even the Democrats say bad things about Biden and the Republicans say bad things about Trump, and you could pretty much agree with all of it. That's, if anything, the big lesson I learned is that when you put two guys up there who did what they did last night, somehow the country feels unified today in sharing the opinion that we are all fucked. And
true story. It's
like I see it even on Facebook when people are like talking about it and they're like, oh my gosh, what a shitty debate. It's not even, it's like bipartisan. Like you're over it all. We're like Democrats and Republicans were like, yeah, we're just, it all just sucks. They suck. I mean, I don't think anybody was actually, can turn around and say, oh, he was wonderful last night.
Again, I kind of just stick with given the impression that Biden wouldn't be able to last 20 minutes. There was even talk about he was like, as a lead up to the debate, that he had requested a break every 20 minutes or 30 minutes. Like, that didn't happen. Like, he was there the whole time, present. Like, it just, again, to me, it was based on everything I was expecting. It was impressive. And I would have said the same for Trump if he just wasn't kind of being a bully and over talking and really just ignoring all the debate rules there are. If he just had taken his time and if he said the exact same words that he said, but just within his time and then just wasn't interrupting all the time, I'd have been like, damn, he did way better than I expected too. Like, it would have been, it was that simple to come out looking good. Was like, hey, don't be a bratty 12-year-old, and I can see you doing this for another 4 years. Like, it would make a little more sense.
Does anybody know anything about the commission on presidential debates?
A little bit,
because I think they're the real asshole in the whole situation here, because it's like they won't make the debate like what they say it should be. And they're like, oh, Chris Wallace says, oh, and both parties have agreed, both campaigns have agreed to these rules. And okay, but like, what if you break the rules?
Yeah, well, there's no
points. They're not docking points. There's
no flag on the play.
Yeah, so they put the timer up 2 minutes. They should put a little fucking tilde before the 2 minutes. Yeah, you got about 2 minutes.
They really should have done this with Joe Rogan as the moderator, but also maybe I I don't know, Brock Lesnar in one corner and maybe Anderson Silva in the other. And if you go over your time, that person gets to hit you. And I think that would have solved it. Of course, if you really cared, and this is coming from two people that do audio for a living, like you can just mute their mics. If it was that important and you actually cared about controlling this and not letting it turn into the shit show that it did, you can just mute their mics.
Yeah.
Look, I can do it to Alex right now. And now you can't hear him. And no matter what he says, it's going to be my time until I decide to turn it back on. I did turn it back on.
And that's who I voted for. Oh, shit. They didn't hear anything I said.
Nope. So, like, it's very easy. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to do that. Why Chris Wallace or whoever the moderator is just has a mute button for their mics. And it would be way more civil just by force at that point. And real quick, I want to shout out my friend Samantha, who's joining us in the chat too. And Will's other suggestion for that, I'm going with the mute button because I think that just makes sense and it's easy and it's basically built into every audio interface and mixer ever. But Will's suggesting shock collars, and I'm not opposed to that.
I'm honestly that would have the best ratings of any presidential debate.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But the only thing is, they would make it towards each one would go to one shock in their ages. I don't know if you could safely shock these guys.
How powerful are these going to be? What kind of shock is this? It can't be like a taser. Like that's going to end it.
You know, somebody I think Will compared it to like if we went to play pickup basketball and we all agreed to, hey, these are the rules that we're making for this game, and so we're like, all right, cool, we play by the rules, and then all of a sudden it's like I start grabbing the ball and just not dribbling and running around with the ball. I'm breaking the rules. And that's what Trump did, right? And so the issue here is that what are you guys going to do now that I broke the rules?
Grin and bear it.
You're gonna get pissed at me, right? You can't do that. Well, yeah, okay. Well, then I keep running, I keep shooting, and I score. As you're telling me I can't do it, I keep scoring
just
2
racking
points.
Up points.
And I'm like, I got 2 more points. No, you don't. That's not true. That's discredited 2 points. No, I got 2 points. I just did it. Look, this is a 3-pointer. Yeah. You stepped on the line. No, I didn't. That was a 3-pointer. Okay. But at the end of the day, what can you do? Because there's no repercussions for breaking those rules. There's no, it's like these rules that nobody has to follow. And it's fucking bullshit. It's amazing to me that they build up this huge debate. Like they might as well just fucking throw a title on the screen, put a 10-second timer, and just say, you two have at it. And what's the point of even controlling it if nobody's going to even listen to the moderators? And it's gone on worse and worse every time there's a debate, you know, with the Hillary-Trump debates. It's just when somebody sees that the moderator can just be talked over and walked all over, and all of a sudden they realize this moderator doesn't really have authority over me. And
I'll give him a little credit though. The one thing I liked about what Chris Wallace did, or there might be others, but one of the things I liked was at least when either one of them really were trying to like just keep talking past their time or talk over, he was like, well, guess what? I can do that too. So I'll just keep talking. So nobody's going to be able to hear or understand what you're trying to get across. And so you're really wasting everybody's time. Not only you being a dick for not following the rules, you're not even going to get the point across that you want to get across because I'm just going to keep talking too and tell you to stop and repeat the question and this and that. And I'm going to have to guess that was done on purpose. You know, because you also just can't not say anything and let them keep talking as a moderator. You have to try to put an end to that as civilly as you can as you're talking to the current president and former vice president of the United States. Like, what more could he really do short of having a mute button?
Has the commission ever actually said like why they don't do that? Like, is there any documentation on that, like as far as like, hey, this is why the rules are the way they are?
Well, my guess is since it's just comprised of Republicans and Democrats, is that that's good for them. That's good. If they're talking over each other and not really getting anything out, they can't be losing. You know what I'm saying? Because no one can disagree with your point if it can't be heard.
True. I think we can no longer predicate like presidential or congressional or governmental events, like we can't stand by respect anymore, and we can't stand by like gentleman style agreements, like because that's what the debate. Hey, you guys are going to be gentlemen, right? Yeah, we are. And then the cameras roll, and it's like, fuck that. I'm attacking this guy and his entire family, and it's
I just figured out how they should do this. Again, the best way and the easiest way and what makes the most sense is a goddamn mute button. But they could also just dock the time from the next question. So like if they're, I guess, I'm also finding the flaw in this, but if they're over talking and not listening, be like, all right, cool. Now for the next question, you actually don't get a turn. But obviously the fix for that is just to keep talking over. So it's really
again, still there is.
Yeah, so you're still not getting anywhere. Mute button's the only way to go. I do think though you'd still be able to hear Trump, even having his mic muted. Like he would still, his voice would still get across, whether it reaches the other mic or the moderator's mic. I just feel like you'll probably still hear him because he's so bombastic.
Or maybe they should just have it in a courtroom with a fucking judge standing over them, not under them, over them, with a gavel, and just like say like it's the commission of presidential debates. Have some fucking have some ramifications for breaking the rules.
Federal Express, like it's just a name. Like it's not like Federal Express has any federal authority.
Okay, I get that, but. It's so they're not like a government. Well, I'm sure they're a government-funded entity, but
I mean, I would have to look that up. I think it's. I honestly believe it's just the Democratic Republican Party. Like
right.
they agree on who's on it and they appoint who's on it. Not exactly, and I'm sure they just fund it that way as well.
I don't know.
That's why you don't see any third-party candidates.
How do you like punish a candidate for breaking the rules? It's tough. You can't
mute him. Cut his fucking mic.
That's it. You mute him. But
what was that from?
Yeah, but then
cut his mic.
He got an extra 5 seconds. He's the fucking moderator.
Yeah, you better wrap that gavel up, B.
I don't know, man. It's kind of shitty. It's kind of stupid. I really think you know what they should do. Here's what I think they should do. I think they should put all the cameras as like hidden cameras in a white padded cell. Put the two of them in the white padded cell by themselves. Somebody just drops the question
ding, ding,
in.
ding.
Ding, ding, ding. They read it out loud together, and then they can decide amongst themselves like how they're going to get their points across. Talk over each other, get physical, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, we're all just going to watch it go down. But they don't, maybe they just don't, because they're in a room, they'll treat each other differently. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, it came off already hot. First 15 minutes of the debate was already ridiculous. First of all, the first thing that came out of Joe Biden's mouth, and I get it, he's like, nice guy Joe, how you doing, man? To the president of the United States, regardless that he's your opponent, how you doing, man? Is a little bit, I'm sorry, but people got shit for calling Kamala Harris Kamala because it's so, these are respectable individuals. We should call them by, and I get it. Trump doesn't lead by example. But you cannot justify that because
that's how you justify that.
But then you either need to decide if you are against his bad example or you're just if you're embracing it, then you can't say he doesn't act presidentially because he doesn't call people by this name. But then
that's not the you realize that's not the only.
Make it okay.
You realize that's not the only reason people think he's not presidential.
No,
right?
I understand.
It's not a
one of a laundry list. I totally get it. I totally get it. I personally, like, watching this shit, I don't know. I don't even want to vote for either of them. I really don't. Can we, is there a way we can just, like, say, you know what? Both parties have 14 days to come up with new candidates because both these guys just are clear and present dangers.
So,
actually, I don't know if both of them are clear and present dangers, but.
And I guess just in the effort to be transparent in what we talk about. So I know you're not going to appeal to everybody. And there are people who are going to be like, oh, this fucking liberal snowflake or something like that. Last election, I did not vote for Trump. And I also did not vote for Hillary. So you can miss me with that if that's going to be a criticism down the line. I don't think I'm going to take that approach this year. I'm not 100% decided on that. But I feel like I'm probably not going to. And some of it is kind of just based on what happened last night. I think it's kind of important. I don't think voting for third party is a waste because clearly that's what I did last election. So like I don't think that it's like a wasted vote. I think this commission that we're talking about on debates, I think that needs a reform. because
Yeah.
that's why you don't get third-party ideas into these debates, is because of this commission and these rules that were set not that long. There's 87, 88. I can't find, how they're funded, but it's definitely, put together by the Republican and Democratic parties, and heads of those parties are chairman on the board there and everything. So they've sponsored the debates from 88, 92, 96, 2000, and so on. But it doesn't say how they sponsor those debates. So, but I think that's something else that's needed too. If you can have 20 people on the dais there during the Democratic nomination process or the Republican nomination process in 2016, why can't we have 3, 4, 5, 6 legit presidential candidates to show us what you got?
I agree. I totally agree. There should be more choices. These choices suck. They really do. They suck.
Well, I mean, yeah.
It's really
I can't disagree with that. But I do want to go into a little of
maybe we should vote the entire cabinet at the same time. They should all run, like the entire cabinet should run. Think about that. Because then you could feel like, all right, well, this guy sucks, but he did surround himself with the right people, whatever, and it's like.
Wait, so you're not? I'm taking that as you get to vote for the cabinet members also. Was that what you're saying or no?
Yeah, I don't know if you could do that because
you can't.
You can't. Then you're forcing people to work with people. The president's got no choice of his own cabinet. But I'm saying,
but no, I think that forces people to work together because we're stuck with each other for 4 years. So either everything goes to shit if we do nothing at all, or we figure this out. And you'll have some, right wing ideas. You have some left wing ideas. You have centrist ideas. You have different people. And then you can actually get maybe the best people for those positions instead of like a Betsy DeVos, who has like no experience in what she's doing, and she's the head of education.
I got it, dude. I totally got it. Do what they did in baseball, football, sports. You got Democratic West, Democratic East, Democratic Central, and then you have Republican West, Republican East, Republican Central, or whatever.
I think that's what the primaries are.
Yeah, but fuck the primaries. Just put them all. There's 6 leagues, right? 2 or whatever, 10 leagues or 10 teams, and then you got a little bit more to consider, a little bit more to choose from. I don't know. It's weird that it just keeps boiling up to like the 2 people.
So Will was asking, like, all right, even if you had a third party candidate in the debates, what would change about how the debate happens? And that's where obviously, if that something like that happened, you really have to. You need a mute button. It's just, I keep going back to that, but it's just that simple. Like, if you're gonna take the debate serious, that you need that. Like, it baffles me that that's not something that's just standard practice.
Yeah,
but I stand behind why
everybody.
Yeah, why I said it. Why I think it is. Like, yeah, of course that's what they agreed to. So at the very least, at least nobody gets a point across. So that's.
No, I think that's something that everyone can agree on is that there needs to be some control over the verbal diarrhea that goes out during the debate, and there's these arguments that people are saying, right? So like Trump actually helped Biden in a sense, not by hurting himself, which he's really good at doing, but he helped him because he didn't even give Biden enough like rope to hang himself as far as time to talk. And if Biden was going to slip up or do something, he wasn't even letting him. He was just talking over everything. And I don't know. I thought I was watching like two drug commercials at the same time, like one for cocaine and the other for like Xanax or Klonopin, and just like you're watching one guy who's like darting all over the room, can't stop talking, and the other guy who like
that might be
can't even get the words out because the other guy's overwhelming him so much that he just has to resort to like, shut up, man, and like things like that. Like they were both so fucking wrong. But I don't know.
All right, so now that we got our first impressions out of the way, I would like to kind of go through kind of what they were saying and some of the issues there. And obviously, it won't be the same deep dive that I would have liked to do on some of the other subjects that we had already said we were going to talk about, because obviously we only had a day to put this together. But we can still be fair and objective about it, and just give our thoughts. So, like I said, I thought out the gate, and apparently we already disagree. I thought
Uh-oh.
Biden was pretty civil. I was I don't remember hearing the "how you doing, man," but I also I've heard him say that. Yeah, he probably did say that. I think it was. I mean, it wasn't worse than calling him a clown or literally just telling him to shut the F up.
Yeah.
But at some point, right? Like, don't you have to do that at some point? If nobody's listening,
No.
or are you saying like, all right, Trump didn't give Biden the chance to
That's
hang
like
himself?
verbal violence, right? Like if you're still at a presidential debate, so if you don't think the other person's being presidential, he did what he came out to accomplish to do, which was to get Biden to snap, and honestly,
that was a snap. Then.
Yeah, I don't know. I
don't know. Not the most egregious thing in my.
It's not the most egregious thing, but like they couldn't get points across. Nobody heard anything that they wanted to hear about. They didn't even address anything that they wanted to address. Everything was like, it makes you wonder, like, what kind of training do these guys have? Like, these are questions. Well, for example, let's go right to the craziest thing that happened last night, which was the fact that Trump would not denounce white supremacy, right? We're going to throw that out there.
All right, I guess
just
we'll
going
go
to
right
hit a trigger
that.
topic.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy that, like, he didn't think that he would go into that and get called out on, like, not denouncing it, and then being put on the spot to denounce it, and then here's how you handle that. And the way he handled it was like a total, like, he literally froze for a second, didn't know what to do, and then threw Antifa out. And it was like, and what was even weirder is that Wallace let it last for all of 15 seconds before he's like, all right, enough, gentlemen. And they listened. And they went to that was the only time he was able to stop a conversation. And it was unbelievable. Everybody saw the duck. So it's complete. Everybody notices it. Everyone's talking about it. How did you not just? I even said to Josh earlier today, if Trump is involved with the white supremacy groups and is afraid to denounce it, don't you think he would say, "Hey guys, like, I'm gonna get put on the spot. I gotta denounce it, but it means nothing." So like, but he's just out there dodging it, obviously. Like, but I don't know. I don't get it.
It's because I don't think that he's like in bed with them, where he's like, he goes to a meeting with these are different. It's not like it's one big white supremacy group, like there are different little groups everywhere. I don't think like they have a Zoom meeting with the president and he's like, hey, where he could be like, hey guys, I'm going to say this, but I got you. Like, I just think that he's not upset with that as a voting block. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's just cool with having that support as voters. I don't think that he, is sitting down on meetings or anything or helping them that way. But it was telling, like, the way he did it was kind of crazy, because he was like, yeah, I'll denounce. He's like, what word do you want me to use? Like, yeah, but put it out. What am I denouncing? And he's like, white supremacy. He's like, yeah, okay, Antifa. Really, it looked like he was gonna. I don't want to say give in or like cave to that, but he was open to, like, because he has before. Like, he's been in other interviews where he has.
So there are a lot of people who think he delivered like a call to action. I can't see my quote fingers. Call to action towards the Proud Boys, and I'm torn between it, because when you listen to it and you understand the way both of these guys speak, they speak broken sentences. They introduce something they're about to say, and then they say something else, and then they get completely off topic. Both of them do it. They cannot say a full sentence to the end of the period. So when they were talking about this and blah, 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 somebody else said Proud Boys. He repeated Proud Boys, but it more or less sounded like Proud Boys, ? And then when he said stand back and stand by, it was because he was about to deliver some crazy statement on which we all thought was going to be white supremacist, but it wound up being Antifa. But I don't think the stand back and stand by was you don't just say that to the Proud Boys in your debate and not expect to get shit for it. So I don't really think he actually was telling them to stand by and stand back and stand by. I think he was just telling the world listening, stand back, stand by, I'm about to say something. And Proud Boys was the end of him just repeating what I don't know if it was Wallace or Biden that said it, but he just repeated the word.
I watched that pretty closely when you'd said that earlier when we were talking about it. And I I can see where you could come up with that thought. I didn't interpret it the same way, especially when you have the fine people on both sides and like just this kind of history of that rhetoric. So it doesn't seem like I think you might be giving him too much credit there for like, you know, it being like, oh no, he was just kind of ignoring that and going to a different thought, and then really went to a zigzag to another thought right after that. I'm not denying that he doesn't talk that way a lot of times. You know, I definitely kind of admit to that. But that's not. It didn't come off that way at the debate. It sounded like, because for so long there's like on this denounce tip. Why would you, even if you are saying like, hold on, stop, and zigzagging somewhere else, you're still totally not denouncing it. So you're still just totally ignoring this whole section of the question. So you're still kind of doing the same thing in more of a dog whistle type of way, right? If you just totally ignore it, because then anybody who's an actual white supremacist watching that, they'd be like, well, he never denounced that. You know, he went on to another thought and, you know, started talking about Antifa and just pointing over there instead. And that, man, that's one of the more annoying things about the whole thing. Like, why not just totally disavow all violence? Like, just any of the violence, like just disavow it all. It's like, yeah, no, like we should be doing this you know, in a peaceful way and talking to each other and yada yada, but that's just not his MO. He's a divisive person, like, and I just don't think that is, man, I don't think that's the best personality for that position.
No, I can agree with that. I mean, it's like, I've always, you know, I've said I have, you know, right side feelings and left side feelings.
I think
most
normal people do
a little bit more right, and then socially, you know, I feel a little bit more left. Like, I don't know. It's and I feel very torn all the time because I feel like I have to, you know, it's like religion. I don't consider myself to be religious because I don't really want to belong to all of the system of beliefs. I just believe what I want to believe. I feel like we can pick and choose our politics. We can pick and choose what we want to believe. So I feel like I pick and choose, and this shit is making me not want to pick and choose anything either of them stand for. And I don't know. So it's just I feel what worries me more is that there's so many people who just are really going to base their decision on this. Not that many, but there are people who are torn. I've talked to people who are like, shit, man, this is out of control. I don't even want to vote for either of them. I feel, you know, we should fucking protest the voting. What happens if nobody votes? Who wins?
That's a good question. The chance of nobody voting, though, I mean, people already have. Which I did like. I did like that answer.
And then both sides would start fucking with the ballots, and then it would come to a split tie and be like, "What? I thought nobody was voting."
Last thing on the whole white supremacy Proud Boys thing is that they are kind of celebrating that, like in their own circles and social media and stuff and everything. So if he was trying to zigzag it or not do that, he could still come out and say, "Nah, I'm not for that. I'm not supporting that," or that how happy they are about this. Like, you know, and that's probably the day after, not the first thing on his mind, but it's there. But let's go into a few facts of which is a problem, right? We see riots and looting happening in cities after or instead of protests sometimes. You know, Antifa was brought up. One of the things, just fact checking through it, like that Biden was correct about was that, I mean, the FBI said that it's an idea more of an organized group, just like we were talking about even on the white supremacy side, like that's more like a lot of little fractions. Obviously you have the KKK and all that, but it is, I mean, that's that anti-fascism is, you know, it's the idea of being against fascists, which as an idea it's hard to disagree with. Now it's how you combat that is open for debate, right? Do you do that? Do you fight violence with violence? Is it fire? You fight fire with fire. Obviously, we know what happens. You burn down everything down. If it's an eye for an eye, whole world's blind. We all know these sayings. So, you know, maybe that's not the best way to do it.
So, well, let's talk about this whole thing that Antifa is not a group; it's an idea, right? That was the defense to Trump saying Antifa is bad. then Biden would say, well, there's not a group called Antifa. That's what they're basically saying. So, but Antifa is anti-fascist. So all the groups by different names that are anti-fascist movements seem to be part of Antifa as a larger staple.
Or you could say
a larger label.
Or you could say that they subscribe to that idea.
They subscribe to the So would it be wrong if he said all of the Antifa groups are bad?
I think it's a little bit nitpicking. I don't think it matters either way.
Exactly. Like the Antifa idea is bad, and the groups that have it in their minds are bad too.
Well, no, I'd say the Antifa idea actually is not bad, right? Being against fascism is not bad. Again, that's why it comes back to the action taking to make your stand. Because first you have to prove that what you're fighting against is fascism, right? So that would be step one, is to you'd have to define that threat or and then kind of go from there. Like, all right, now what's the next step? Like, if we agree that these are fascist things going on, then like, how do we stop that?
But is the point to argue the definition of what it is when he calls it out?
Well, that's why I just said just denounce all violence. There you go.
Right.
It's pretty simple.
But why do you have to be pedantic about the use of the term Antifa? Like, just okay. I by the way, Mr. Trump, I think it's an idea of the group, but yeah, no, it is. It's a bad ideology for sure, and I don't know, and maybe it is. There is a group that actually is called Antifa, and then maybe there's also a saying or a noun, if you will, that is Antifa. Like, that guy is Antifa. He's anti-fascist. But this group is also called Antifa. It's like saying Black Lives Matter, and then there's the movement called Black Lives Matter.
Were you going to expand on that? Or
no, I was mic dropping right there.
I mean, yeah, like, again, the organization and the movement and the idea, like, these could be all three different things. It does get a little into semantics about it. If you're turning to a violent solution, I think we can all just agree, like, that's wrong and you shouldn't do it, and really kind of leave it at that. Now, if you want to just I
do want to say one thing real quick. The Antifa ideology is not a bad thing. I was meaning that the groups that act on behalf of the Antifa ideology is a bad thing. Well, but anti-fascism, I'm Jewish myself. I'm against fascism.
Same here. Half of me. I'm a pizza bagel. Anyway, but again, I think you're just that important distinction there is in the actions. So even an Antifa group, just being an Antifa group is not bad. Like, if we had an Antifa meeting just to talk about ideas that were anti-fascism, that's not bad. If we go out onto the street and start fucking throwing rocks into Starbucks and shit like that, then that is bad. Like, those actions are bad. But now, if you want to break it down and be like, okay, what's considered a real threat, right? Department of Homeland Security said white supremacy is like the number one domestic problem that we face. Like, the white supremacy groups, I forgot the exact stats, but it was something like 57% of like domestic terrorism attacks were white supremacy groups or connected to them in some way from, I don't know, since 2001 or 5 or something like that, after 9/11. And something like radical left-wing domestic terrorism was at like 25%. So, I mean, right there, it doesn't matter the semantics. It's like, one is clearly a bigger problem. It doesn't mean you ignore the other. That's what keeps bringing us back to this, the idea of just, if your reaction is violence, it's bad and that should be stopped. It's that simple. It's just that one group seems to do 57% of it, and another group only around 20 or 25%. So what are you going to focus on first? The FBI also had a report, unredacted or something, report from 2006 about a legit threat of white supremacy takeovers in law enforcement. I don't mean taking over like a whole department or something like that. Like, although in some states, let's be honest, in some places, I don't think that that's totally outside the realm of possibility, and historically haven't been. But they were reporting on this too. So, like, this is an issue. This is a threat. And so, and being the head guy I mean, you fired everybody you hated in the FBI, right? So it's your it's your FBI, and if they're saying, "Hey, this is the threat," and you're just like, I mean, good people on both sides, just stand down, stand by, like, we'll, whatever, we'll just to kind of ignore that. And hey, Antifa, look over there. It's a magician trick. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. He's like, never mind, what I'm doing here. It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna have your card at the end of it, but look over here for a second.
And that's what politicians do.
Yeah. But he's not supposed to be a politician. I thought that was his appeal.
Who?
Trump.
Well, he is now. I mean, you can't not be. You have to be.
After you're president, you're definitely a politician.
Yeah, I mean, once you're there, once you run a political campaign, you officially gain the title of politician. It's weird, these labels, right? These titles and names. And I'm not gonna throw the Democrats under the bus, but it does. They do come from a left side usually, and will chime in what right side groups are like misnomered in this sense. But you have, if there is a group called Antifa, right? It's totally like, hey, we're anti-fascist, but we do it in a violent way, and the violent side of the BLM movement, which might not be even BLM people, which the reports are that there are they're white suburban people funneling money in and, basically committing crimes, in blackface. But you go further, Planned Parenthood. What do they do?
They provide. I mean, this is so great. I love that we're talking about racism and now woman stuff as two white guys.
No, but I'm serious. And I'm not going to say whether I support or against it, but Planned Parenthood, what do they do?
So, my understanding, from having looked into this in the past, but my recall is fucking horrible. But I usually do a really good job. Details not so much, but main points pretty good. So they provide medical services for women, basically, and that goes from mammograms and pap smears to to also abortions. That is something they do.
But it's called Planned Parenthood, and they offer they do abortions.
Yeah, well, your plan is maybe not to be a part of parenthood.
But you see what I'm saying? So it's not quite a Planned Parenthood if you're providing an abortion service to somebody.
It is. Well, no, it definitely could be.
And I'm just saying the naming of a lot of these groups is what kind of protects them in a sense sometimes from the controversy that they bring.
But you're also no. I mean, maybe, but I don't know if this is the greatest example of it.
I'm getting torn apart here on the chat. I'm sure you become a parent when you plan to.
But here's
That's
the thing.
The idea.
Or also, you could already be a parent. And if there's a complication and you need an abortion, like that's still that would fit into a Planned Parenthood. It's like I'm planning on living to be a parent to the child that I have that's alive already.
They help you plan. Okay, I get it. So they help you plan to be a parent versus being a parent when you didn't plan to.
Well, I mean, technically,
if you actually, that's if you don't want to be a parent and you want to have an abortion, you're planning your parenthood. So by making sure you're not a parent yet because you're not planning.
Yes, I got what you're saying. And
all right, so I can talk myself through
that
the acceptance of that. It's not much of a misnomer. But I don't know. Maybe how do they not know if Antifa is a group or an ideology? How do they not know?
I mean, because
I don't have, I used to think that the government could figure a lot of shit out. Like, they have access to everything. They know where everybody is whenever, like, they're always watching it. But sometimes they don't know anything. And you're like, how do you not know this? You guys have pictures of missile silos in Russia, and the changes of a parking lot in China.
But they got to know where to point those satellites, right? It's not like it's just scanning everything and they're taking on all this information. Oh, look what we found over there in this, quadrant of the world. They have to point that satellite somewhere off of other intelligence.
You sure about that? They don't. You don't think they have a? You don't think they're just? I mean,
because it takes hours to do that. When you do want to point a satellite somewhere, it's not like they just press a button and it's like, all right. Countdown 10, 9, 8, 7. Cool. Now that we're looking in China's backyard.
See, as far as imaging goes, to me, I feel like technology, wherever we have, whatever technology we have at the consumer level, you have to assume that the government had like 50, not 50, maybe 25, 30 years ago. So the technology that the imaging and, satellite imaging technology they have now, I have to assume that they basically are just at least recording the 25 to 50% of the face of the Earth on video at all times. And
I mean, maybe.
I don't think they have to point to satellite. I think
But
the
that doesn't mean
satellite's
you can-
pointed and has enough resolution just to pretty much capture the whole fucking area.
Oh, you mean like one satellite can just
No, but several
But
satellites.
that's what I'm saying. Like one could have like, let's say 5% of the Earth on it or something. Is that what?
Yeah, it's if they have a bunch of satellites and they just grid up the entire Earth and they say, hey, you're focusing and recording 24/7 on this, this quadrant, this quadrant, this quadrant, this, and then all of a sudden they have a live view. At
What do
any
you do
given
with
time.
this data? You have to have maybe all right, a live view at any time, but then you have to be there when something's happening. Someone actually has to be looking at every square inch of
Not
this.
if you're recording it. Because
you
then
think-
if you want to look at something, then you.
You have to. I mean, yeah, you'd have to know when it happened. You have to then find that file somewhere, and if you, with the amount of data daily, if it happened 3 months from now, who's like, you know how it is just trying to wait. You know how it is just
data
trying to.
storage is cheap, man. That's.
You know how it is just trying to organize Dropbox, man. Like, and us trying to find pictures
I'm one
that
person.
we need.
This is the fucking government.
Yeah, but you're doing it on smaller stuff.
And I do a damn good job. I have
It's
like
not that great.
Fuck you, man. That's only one of the
It's not
folders.
bad. It's good. It's okay. It's not great. You can't. If I'm looking for something from fucking 6 months ago, I'm gonna have a hard time doing it. You know. And also on top of that, no, I also don't think that they're recording every inch of what's going on all the time. Nah, can they? I don't know. That's beyond the scope of anything I'm prepared to talk about today. This is why we need a producer. We need not Jamie to bring it up.
What, to keep us on track?
No, to answer that question.
Oh.
But I'll do it as good as I can on keeping us on track. So we jumped around a lot in the debate. I really just wanted to start with what they started with, and that was the Supreme Court nomination.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said this. He honestly, what was the
I
first?
can't believe that nobody
The first
not
thing out of his
nobody,
mouth, I was like, "Are you serious?"
But-
Is like that's not really what you want to say. Like, an election has consequences. I was like, "Are you? That's what you wanted to? That's your first line? Is an election has consequences?"
Yes, we're
Like,
realizing that.
yeah,
Thank you.
motherfuckers. like to the entire world.
I
He's
think
about
we've
to
seen
debate.
that over the last 3.5 years.
He
Thank you.
literally goes. I want to tell you very simply. We won the election, and elections have consequences. We have the Senate, we have the White House, and we have a phenomenal nominee respected by all top academic, good in every way.
You know what's so
It's
crazy? Like
good
if-
in every way.
Here's the
Why do
thing.
you
Like
say
if you
shit like
believed
that?
any of that, then that's just ignoring everything on the opposition that's just out there in the public sphere. It's just ignoring all of that. It's like it's just such a clear lie, and just I'm gonna cheerlead for my team at all costs, and that's it. You're not even attempting, like these are bad faith arguments. Like you're not even attempting to talk about this in a good faith way.
No, exactly.
And to be honest about
And
it.
all he wanted to do was talk about the liberal side of her support.
Again, just pointing over here.
exactly. And I'm so sick of that shit. But in a defense for the president, whoever it ever was, is, or may be, you have that right. And I don't know who said it afterwards, but we didn't. He's not a president for 3 years. He's a president for 4 years.
Ooh, I love that.
And in those 4 years, he can do that.
No, here's why I love that. You want to know why I love that?
Why?
Because this dummy, and I'm just keeping it real here, this dummy decided to quote Ginsburg from that quote that was, he didn't even know when. He was like 10, 15 years. She said it sometime that, you're elected for 4 years and not 3. And you know what she said right before she died?
What'd she say?
That I should be replaced by the next president-elect. That was literally like her last words, like on her deathbed.
I did
And
not
so-
know that.
And I mean, it was out there. He knew it, that's for sure. So to pick a quote from her to try to defend this action is just so ridiculous. And I'm surprised Biden didn't bring up like, well, you railroaded and just blocked Obama when he had 8 months left or 10 months, whatever it was. So like, if you believe that the people had already picked me to be president, so I should make this decision, then how come you didn't have that same train of thought when it wasn't your team
Right.
You know,
I get it. When it's good for you, it's it's good for you. But when it's against you, it's the person's doing wrong. And that's politics.
but no,
is
that's
that,
all.
hey, look, you're gonna do it. You did it wrong last time, so I want to do it this way
But
too. And
isn't
then
that-
you
isn't that
you
what-
just keep like.
Isn't that what people were sick of? And again, that was one of the reasons that Trump was appealing, was like he's not the politician. So to say now be like, well, that's politics and that's the way the game's played. It's like, but he's the whole drain the swamp shit. Like the whole swamp's still there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like this is for everybody that like went into this with a good intention, that voted for him or whatever. You can't. I don't know if you could still have that position. As far as draining the swamp is going to be good for this and that and everything, and just based on the actions of what he's doing and saying and putting out there, again, in this very divisive way. There's no other way to really put it. And you could default it to his personality, and I would agree with you. I'd be like, yeah, that's his personality. I was like, and that's probably why he shouldn't be president. So thank you, I guess. Like, I guess people that are just all in for him is just that they hear that, and the train of thought just doesn't go the same way, and which is fine, because obviously, like, we could have an argument over like what actress we think is hot or something like that, or like I take in all this input, and I don't know, no one ever told me to be straight. You know what I'm saying? As a kid, like, that's just the natural way it happened. Like, yeah, I'm into women. You know what I'm saying? And like, you could take that same info and the same information with somebody else, and they'll be like, nah, I like guys. Like, I mean, she's cool, but like, I'm not like attracted to her. It's just like it's just weird. Like, that's not a great example, because it's more of just and something that you can't explain as far as an attraction like that. But it's like when you're taking in the same information as far as just like facts and the way somebody is, it's always odd to me when like people can be so opposite about it. I saw somebody post some article. I don't even remember what it was about. It's irrelevant what it was about, but it was funny that on Facebook, if two people that you're friends with or whatever share something, you'll see the article, and then you see both people, and then whatever the comments in those respective posts. And so it was somebody that I already know is like super on the left side of things, and someone I know that's on the super right side of things. They both posted the same article and had a totally different explanation for what they both read the exact same thing and came away with it with totally opposite opinions. And I was just like, there's no hope.
There is no hope. That's I think a lot of people are sharing that opinion. It's like we are, you're just looking at two evils and finding the lesser. And oh man,
it's like, but like, I guess that's the other thing I didn't get out of the debate. What's the downside on Biden? Like, is it that he's been there forever and it's more establishment, same as Obama, Hillary, and all of that? Like, he's more on that train, or is it? It doesn't seem like it's something super nefarious, unless you count.
It's not. He's not super nefarious. It's not that there's that downside. It's there. He definitely. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I don't think a lot of us do know what goes on behind closed doors and where these guys get their responses or the things they say. But politics is sales of the personality and sales of what people believing you're going to do this. And then once you get office, you're like, shit, it's going to take me a long time to do this. And no president ever does what they say they're going to do. But they look,
I guess some probably do.
We know very well they all go wishy-washy. They believe one thing one day, they believe another thing the next day, and then they all call each other out on it. Hey, you didn't say that a month ago. Yeah, well, you didn't say this a month ago. And they're like, well, and it's like, and I showed you the video earlier. It's like watching two infants in diapers say goo goo gaga back and forth, and they're both, and you calling each other fucking babies. And you're like, no, you're a baby. Well, yeah, because you're a baby, and I'm a baby, so I'm going to be a baby because you're a baby, and you made it okay because you were a baby first. And that's to me what politics seems to be about now.
Look, you
look at this, back to what we were talking about. You look at the appointment of the Supreme Court judge, and then the Democrats are, oh, well, you didn't let us do it. You didn't think it was okay we do it, and now he's doing it, and he's like, oh, well, you guys tried to do it, and and I was, blah 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 blah. So it's like we each made it okay to be total blatant assholes to each other, and everybody just, it's like it's okay because we did it too.
I guess we the people let it happen, don't we?
Yeah. Well, and I think Biden said.
But also, then, do we really let it happen if they campaign on one thing and then you're like, cool, I like those ideas, and then they never get to do those things? Like, there's nothing we can do after that but vote in the next motherfucker. Like, that's the kind of the only option we have, unless you're talking some radical total overthrow shit.
Well, I think that's one of the smarter and like dumber things. I can't decide which one it was that Biden did last night, was denounce some of the radical left.
I thought that was genius of him, actually.
It might have been. It might have been.
When Trump said, that's it, you just lost the radical left, I was like, well, if that was the fear-mongering of why you should not vote for Biden, then...
Right. That's where the genius is. But
you just made it okay for people.
Do you think so many people saw it that way?
Well, I'm going to... Whoever listens to this might now. I was like, you just made it okay to vote for Biden because you're saying, that's it. Because of this policy, he lost the radical left. Cool. There's nothing to be scared of then. Like, you can vote him in. like you don't have to worry about this radical left agenda taking over because the president just said that you lost them if this is your plan. And he's like, yeah, that's my plan. So it's like, cool. Like, thanks for settling that.
So, I don't know. I don't think Biden. Your friend Sam asked why is Biden so horrible, and I don't think Biden is what's horrible. I think the influence behind him, which he again just kind of denounced, the radical left, but there are people advancing agendas through Biden that they're saying, he's a transitional president. He is not going to implement big change in his 4 years if he's elected president. That is not, Biden is not, there's not a lot of people saying Biden's going to be an amazing president. They're just saying, get this Trump out of office. So Biden is the anti-Trump, the representation.
Maybe,
his vote is the anti-vote.
But maybe if there was a mute button on Trump, you could hear Biden's ideas and you'd be like, you know what? He actually has some good ideas here. Maybe. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? You might listen to him and be like, that idea is fucking horrible. But the opportunity practically wasn't even there. If you believe that about him, then why not let him talk? Like, that's the best way to kind of like let someone prove your point right, is let them talk. If this is how you think and feel about a person, cool. They'll prove that on their own the more they talk. That's why I love like long format talks and like other podcasts that I listen to. Like, I sit there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours with somebody and talk to them. Like, you're not going to be able to fake the funk that long. You know what I'm saying? You just can't. You're not going to be able to just like stick to a talking point with someone who's bringing up every side of everything and really kind of getting all that information out of you. Maybe even that could be one of the things that happen in a debate, in a new way to debate, is that one night it's one of them. They go for 2 hours with somebody and they can talk about all they want. I would like to see that fact checked in real time somehow.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
That would be
that's what we're saying.
That's
like,
a big issue.
We should have them. We should like break every topic for like 5 minutes. Let the fact checkers do their thing.
Here's the
and
problem.
Then come back
that.
to the topic and be like, so that number that you said was wrong, and that statement that you made was wrong. So let's go. It's almost like when you got to scratch something from the court record. It's like, oh, the jury, you guys didn't hear
but they
him admit
did.
to the murder, even though he just said I did it, but it was not in the right context, so therefore, scratch that from the record. You didn't hear it.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's why like lawyer, like they'll like a sly lawyer will keep pushing that to get that to be said, even through the objections and the judge saying no, just because it's just they need the jury to hear it. They'll direct them not to, but it doesn't matter. The damage has been done. Damn, there was something I was going to say right before you got into that, and now I don't remember what the hell it was. So that kind of sucks. Oh, here's one thing I didn't like about Biden. Again, being balanced here and objective. Talking about ending the filibuster and trying to, they have this idea of maybe adding more Supreme Court judges or whatever. And when asked about that, Biden definitely ducked that question. He was like, well, I'll make a decision, like the voters will make a decision and then it'll be an issue and I'll talk about it. It was like, yeah, but they're being asked right now, like, do you think this is a good idea or not? Like, just answer that. So like, I didn't like that take, just in case you think I've been all on one-sided so far.
Is Biden a creep?
You know what? I've seen a lot of those little videos floating around.
Will and Sam, is Biden a creep? I'm not talking about anything of his political capabilities or, the fact that he's not Trump, but is he a creep? Because he seems like a creep, and the amount of sniffing that Trump's a fucking creep. Everybody knows that. All the marriages, he grab him by the pussies. So, in the audio clip with Billy Bush, like he's a creep. But maybe Biden's just a little more closeted, but it seems like he's a creep too.
But so what then? If the president-elect is, everybody already knows he's a creep, then how can you use that as cannon fodder or a battle tactic?
I'm not using it as a battle.
No, not you. Oh, okay. Not you. I mean, other people. I mean, other people that do bring that up.
I Googled Planned Parenthood, and I'm so excited to see what kind of ads I start getting served.
That totally derailed me.
Sorry, I know. I was just thinking about because I just saw Planned Parenthood on my screen. I was like, oh shit.
But yeah, it's almost a non-argument if the other person is that. So like, who cares? To a certain degree, who cares? But now, given that all these little clips that are out there that's what they are. They're little clips. So, what's the context of it? Is it just? It could be as simple as just breathing when you're near somebody. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, like
that's the worst thing you could do to somebody.
Like how is that dismissed? Or just being that he's an old dude, and I mean, anybody that had loving grandparents, like they love little kids, and just being, All
right, I don't want to define the word creep. Let's use the loosely used term creep. We all know what the fuck it means. Will we don't have to do a whole Merriam-Webster breakdown of the word, but he seems creepy. They're I don't know. I guess you have to be a creep to be in politics.
Yeah, I mean, listen.
After kissing that many babies, it's just like your lips are just belong to everybody. I don't know.
To a certain degree, I'm gonna go out there. To a certain degree, aren't a lot of old people a little creepy?
Yeah, they are.
Like just the overall.
Yeah, they are.
Look of a decaying human, like that's what's happening to you slowly over the years. Like it's just a little weird.
Yeah,
it's a little creepy. Anyway,
he's touchy feely.
When you start looking like the crypt keeper, that's a little weird. That like you have a pulse. I don't know.
It's like the opposite of the Pope. You saw when somebody grabbed the Pope's hand. You didn't see that.
Oh, didn't he tell you the Pope
snapped his hand away from the woman who grabbed it.
Yeah,
it's the opposite. That woman would reach out to Joe Biden. He'd come in for the real thing, sweetheart. But I don't know. Biden is just like he's just like vanilla ice cream. I don't even want to say vanilla ice cream. He's just trans. He's not the get it done guy. He's just the guy that's not Trump. That is like the breather.
But here's the thing, like as the president though, like maybe he doesn't have that strong personality, like a type A personality or something like that, but just being in that position and having people listen to, because clearly people just listen to Trump because he's the president, right? Whether in the administration, even though a ton of people have left and this and that, like there's still a some type of willing coalition here to take heed and take the lead of what he's doing. So wouldn't you just think that would happen on the flip side? Like if Biden was president and he's like, all right, this is what we're doing, that there's going to be enough people behind him on the inside that'd be like, all right, this is what we're doing, and start pushing that forward. Like that's kind of just what happens in that position.
True.
What else came up during that? Oh, people thought that Biden had an earpiece, and they saw a little wire and everything. Again, someone who does pro audio, like you would have, it would make sense to me that they put a lavalier mic on these guys. As your overhead mics and boom mics and everything else you're using. You can't just have one mic on and think like, all right, like this is gonna last the whole time. Like you have to have backups ready. So that would be my guess there. But here's where this thinking deeper about what you're being presented really comes into play. If you're under the belief that Biden has dementia and he can't talk on his own and he doesn't know where he is half the time and all this other stuff, how can you also believe that he is taking orders in an earpiece and being able to communicate those at that
it's
speed.
You can't speak and hear at the same time.
That's someone who's never used an earpiece ever.
I don't think he had an earpiece, but
me neither. That's why.
I don't think he's like all the way gone. I just think he tends to be a little bit aloof with his factual data, and he's definitely he's airheady, and like he did not go to he said his own college wrong, and I get it. It was like 50 years ago that he was in this college, but he said he said he went to Delaware State, and he didn't go to Delaware State. It was University of Delaware.
I mean, again, that's as semantic as we were talking about with Antifa being an idea. Like
no, and I get it. It's semantics.
And
but
in
I think,
passing in an interview, being on
if you're gonna be anything, you have in that level of publicity, and people want to see a sharp, like somebody who doesn't fuck up once.
That can't be true. No, hold up. Stop
Bill
this.
Clinton did
Stop.
not say the word ever when he would talk or like, and that was like, holy shit.
My head's about to explode.
Why? You getting mad at me?
No, I'm not getting. I'm getting mad that you're totally skipping over the fact that who's the president is now does all of those.
But I'm not defending him.
I know you're not.
Yeah.
I know, but this is what I'm saying. Like, if this is the person that's there and that already won the popularity contest, then to denounce or say it's something a negative in the cap of some of the opponent that they do that's basically the same thing, it's just in their own way, is a non-starter for me.
He did say
if we're comparing
Delaware State. He did say Delaware State. Will's trying to debunk it with some.
But here's the thing: I don't care. Like, you can debunk it or you cannot.
But that's the thing
it does not matter to me.
Everybody is nitpicking at everything that everybody in the public spotlight does, and you got the name of your school wrong. Like, you got this wrong. Oh, you got this fact wrong.
I've gotten the name
of
my...
You must be an idiot because you used the wrong number for the deaths in the military.
Listen,
and that's people will literally take a sweater thread out of your brain and run with it and it's on both sides. And Trump gives you a lot of fucking threads, and Biden gives you different types of threads, but we're just stripping these guys down. And literally what you saw last night was both of these guys tearing the sweaters off of each other, going down to the family. I couldn't and then Biden got. I gotta say, Trump did a good job diffusing the Beau Biden to the Hunter Biden, because when Joe Biden got really got fired up about him denouncing military, calling them losers, not denouncing military, but calling the military losers, and then he had this big moment of anger with his with Beau Biden, his son, who he lost, serving a year in Iraq, and then President Trump goes, well, I don't know Beau, but Hunter, and he just it was just, he went straight after they just go for the jugular. So petty. Oh man.
So
all right.
Where else?
Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do an exercise. If you were to be able to hit the reset button and pick somebody, not the two of them, and not anybody who's ran for president in the last 10 years, but if you were to pick somebody to be the president,
can we start?
Who would you pick? Who would be the ideal president? So out of the public, out of the public facing individuals that who would be a perfect president?
Ooh, this might be a little on the controversial side, depending on how you view this person. But I might pick Sam Harris. He's a neuroscientist, author. He would be awesome in a debate. You can look up a ton of his on YouTube. I think he gets it weirdly attacked by the left, though, as being like alt-right, when if you just listen to him talk about almost anything, you'll see that that's just not true. One of the ideas I had during this is I was going to drop like some crazy vocab word that I knew would get your attention, and then say like, yeah, that's a Sam Harris word. Because when you listen to whether his podcast or any of these debates that he's had, his vocabulary is insane. It's just ridiculous, the words that he pulls. And these aren't like, the way we're talking and we're thinking about stuff and there's some pauses or whatever. No, he's just sharp as fuck with it. He just can say a whole paragraph on you name the subject and use at least 5 words you've never heard before, and with that are 4, 5, 6 syllables in them, and it all makes perfect sense, and he doesn't miss a beat with it. It's pretty impressive, and what I like about him is that he's very, the whole point of this, just objective and rational on the way he looks at things and talks about things. And that being said, I have disagreed with him on stuff, and you feel like you almost shouldn't be allowed to just because of how fucking smart this guy sounds. But this is what's so impressive. He did. It was something about the. It was when there was the San Bernardino shooter, and they were trying to get into his phone, and Apple wouldn't open it. They're like, no, it's like we can't. First, we can't.
And people are still worried about texting about weed. They're like, I don't know, man. I don't want the cops to show up at my house. You think the cops are monitoring text messages? They couldn't even get the fucking a shooter's iPhone.
So he had said something about like why maybe they should do that and yada yada yada, and he got backlash from it, and it was clear that he wasn't totally versed on it, and it was not like the subject of a podcast and he did the whole thing about it where he researched it. It was just a question that that came in that he answered on the spot, kind of, maybe not on the spot, but it was just like one of those before his podcast, he just does like some emails that he's gotten and talk about certain questions he's got. So he didn't do the usual deep dive into researching it, and on the very next episode he said, yeah, I was a little off there. I looked into it afterwards and I was like, I see why they made that decision, and what the alternative would have meant for cybersecurity and stuff like that. And he's like, I take back what I said.
I was wrong is the strongest thing anyone can say.
Yeah.
It is so, and you wish people in power would be able to just say, guys, I'm sorry, I was wrong, I hope you could forgive me, blah blah blah. It's so hard to do it. I don't know. It took me nearly 2 years of marriage to be able to say, you know what, I was wrong. Everyone's so stubborn, and at the highest level of power, people are wrong, and they just cannot admit to it.
And then whack.
But so they build these walls and these distractions around what they know deep down inside. It's got to be so hard to live inside the mind of somebody who really can't defends being wrong. I don't know. I don't fucking know. I am so sick of politics now.
Well, guess what? You still have to tell me who you would nominate.
Yeah, I keep thinking about it. I'm like, who?
Wait, so you asked this question without having an answer in mind?
No, I was curious. I like to ask questions, man. I
like hearing people's answers.
I like answers, man. Yeah. I'm not as decisive as so many people in this world are. So I like people who are so married. Like you were quick to go Sam Harris. I was like, wow, it's fucking.
No, I thought you want to know the other names that went through my mind.
Yeah.
Elon Musk.
Yeah. But hold on. He's erratic.
Oh yeah. Dave Chappelle. But I was like, you know what?
Have you seen Dave Chappelle? If Dave Chappelle became president, we would be literally now a giant step closer to the portrayal of government in the movie Idiocracy. President Camacho.
Nah, I don't buy that. I feel like we're closer to that now.
Shit's really bad.
Oh yeah, maybe just the language he uses, but not the a dumb idea.
For the record, we're way beyond the Delaware State stuff, Will. So I can't.
Yeah, but you know what? That might have been there.
No, I don't
when
know.
we first were talking about it.
No, because it was then somebody said Musk. No.
No, yeah, I don't.
Musk.
I don't. That's oddly enough, I didn't say him, right?
Oddly enough, Musk would have us on the same ride as Tesla. I invest in Tesla. I love Tesla, and I fucking hate Tesla for its volatility and. How much Robinhood investors play a role in its volatility, but Elon Musk, I don't know. He must have read the same book Da Vinci read and Tesla read, and just kind of cracked the code on some scientific breakthroughs. And I have a lot of respect for his mind. I don't know if I have respect for how erratic it is. Actually, I do, because my mind works in a very similar way, but I don't know if he could run the country, because I think he would upset too. I don't think anyone can fucking run the country. There's too many different opinions, too divided. We live in a country where everyone says shut the fuck up, don't tell me what to do.
So do you think? But it didn't seem like it was always like that, right? Even politically, like one of the things you just didn't talk about it, which I don't think is the right approach either. Like, oh, we don't talk about religion and politics and this and that. It's like, well, maybe that's why we are where we are now, because nobody knows how to talk about these things because they never did. So I'm sure that's not the approach to it.
Well, we also are not as religious, and like politics, even though the separation of church and state is so important in politics, there was always.
I think it's more important in government. I think that was
true. But God was brought into governance early on. One nation under God, and so God-fearing individuals, who the Puritans were, thought that, okay, well, we got to listen to this government or else, because
But wasn't that? Man, I wish we had a fact checker. I don't think that was always there.
In God we trust, or in God we trust.
Yeah.
God has been a part of the economic system, like as the hierarchy, as like the watching eye. It's the God is written in our Constitution.
Hey, not Jamie, aka Will. You want to fact check that for me?
What's the fact check?
On the one nation under God or in God we trust, whichever one you just said.
No, I'm just saying, like,
I kind of want to know where
God has made its.
I want to know where it came in.
They put God in governance, and when you have a large group of people that are all sharing a common religion and are religious, they act under God and the religion and the belief. But when people defect from religion, they defect from a common belief of morality, and unfortunately they defect from what is government, and unfortunately government is governing a group of people, which is telling them you can and can't do this. And when they defect from the religion or the fear of the power that is telling them that, they don't listen to the government, and then we get into this.
Wait, so you're saying atheists don't listen to the government?
Yeah, a lot of them don't. They don't want to.
I mean, I don't think that has. I'm sure there are people.
No, not necessarily atheists. I'm just saying in the sense that we have a lot of religiously defected people. That not all atheists. Atheists seem to be a little bit more like they just kind of see it for a different way. I think atheists are a little bit of an isolated, like almost more enlightened in many ways from the atheists I've spoken to.
I'm just trying to find the correlation of.
I'm talking about the non-religious, not the total. Like atheists are kind of non-religious, but they believe in the atheist thought. I'm talking about people who literally are like, yeah, whatever, Jesus, God, Judaism, atheism, I don't care as long as I get that dollar.
Okay.
I'm just saying those people like are
having trouble following. That's all.
Maybe I'm just going down a loophole. I don't even know.
Maybe.
The Pledge of Allegiance. I'm reading the.
In God We Trust, 1956. That appeared. On I don't know where. Are we talking about on money? Not Jamie. Let me know. In God We Trust. That was put on money when?
E pluribus unum.
Oh, One Nation Under God, 1954. That was the Pledge of Allegiance. Which is a little. I will say. When you think about it, objectively, a little bit scary. Like, you just think about the like indoctrination and stuff of just being.
What is
everything?
One Nation Under God? In God We Trust was not 1956, Sam. I'm so sorry, but E pluribus unum is at the very. Well, actually, that's out of many one, so it was converted to In God We Trust. Let's see.
I think the point is that it hasn't always. It wasn't there originally.
1864.
Because
it
the point
appeared on
of
the 2-cent piece.
The
In
point,
God We Trust.
The point of even coming and settling this land.
Paper currency.
And obviously, that's a whole different discussion too.
Currency.
So that's a whole nother.
1864.
Okay, are you done?
Talking to Sam. My bad.
Yeah, but you can't.
I'm trumping you.
I'm
trumping you. I'm sorry.
As I talk,
I'm trumping
because then no one hears either one.
I'm trumping you.
Yeah, I can see. I can hear that.
Shut up, man.
Why'd I pick to do this podcast with this clown? So anyway.
Then you have to backtrack and say this person.
This guy. I don't even know what I was talking about. Oh, great!
I gotta stop watching the chat.
We went from talking.
I'm caring too much about somebody who told me that In God We Trust.
We went from talking about a shit show to just
being
producing one.
Yeah, but we still like each other, right?
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah, damn, man. That really got off rail there. Shit. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on debate-wise, or a subject that came up there that you were like, hey, I like what this person said about it, or I don't like what this person said about it, or how come neither one of them said anything about this? Or
it was such a shit show, dude.
yeah,
It was such
and I
a
think, I mean,
shit
not
show.
for nothing, we covered a lot of it, from the white supremacy shit.
What's crazy is if you read the script, you'd see paragraphs for each thing, the presidential candidate said. But if you read the script, it looks like a dialogue from like a fast-paced movie where there's just like one line after line. This is the same man who told you it's all a setup, like two different lines, like just
two different people
chiming in at 1:11. This is the same man who told you, and then Trump chimes in, it's all a setup. Fucking crazy.
So actually, I know what you're talking about. It was the Pledge of Allegiance. Like, we all said that growing up and didn't think twice about it. But if you take a second thought about it, it's a little weird and it's
One
a
nation
little
under
creepy.
God?
No, the whole thing. Like, I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Whatever the rest of it is. One
And to the
under
to
God.
the republic for which it
Yeah.
stands, one nation
And
under God,
like,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I like the liberty and justice for all. Like, that makes sense to me.
And indivisible.
but-
we're so
Yeah, right?
yeah, we're
But,
not a divisible,
So
clearly. But
my friend Samantha has lived abroad in different countries for over a number of years.
yeah.
And she's in the chat right now saying like, yeah, like, people, non-Americans are super weirded out by the pledge. like it's I don't know, it's a weird nationalistic thing. I don't think they should stop it, necessarily.
What's so bad about it? Like, what's so fucked up about it?
Well,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
I mean,
so
because
I'm pledging allegiance to this country.
So you can take that and think about how it would be, can be used in countries that maybe don't really align the way we think. Think of other countries throughout history that maybe have done, atrocious things, and then just having everybody pledge allegiance to that. A little odd, right?
I mean, it's a vow. Like, it's a vow.
Yeah.
We vow to each other as romantic individuals when we're married. We vow to our parents to follow their rules. I promise, Ma. You make promises, right? So you sign an oath. You go into court. You put your fucking hand on the Bible.
It's a weird one too.
Yeah. Like.
It's a bad example. No.
I know. I'm just thinking like. I've never had to swear in under any oath or had, but I grew up Jewish.
You know what it is?
I don't go to, but like.
I think it's the idea. It's that same idea and action
It's
thing.
the fear tactic.
The idea is cool, is fine, as long as the action behind it is, benign or loving or whatever adjective you want to use that isn't, demeaning and violent and angry or any of those antonyms. All right, so I guess we're in agreement that it's pretty benign overall. I guess that could be weird now. So I guess we have to relate this to the debate somehow, right? So the stand by, stand down statement, when he asked about, he's telling people to go to the ballots and watch and everything. We know, it's weird to say we know, but like, I get the feeling he doesn't mean like idly by. You know what I'm saying? Or let's put it this way. That there are people that won't interpret it that way, and aren't going to interpret it as like, oh, just idly buy and watch. It's like, because they're going to think something's happening, right? So it's going to force them to kind of make an action. And now, if you have this, if you're pledging allegiance to that type of action,
yeah, it's like
it's like
Dwight Schrute in the Neighborhood Watch.
Yeah,
it's like they're not just innocent. They're just I'm just observing. They're not auditing. They're not observing. They're like, what are you doing over there? I'm sorry. What are you doing with that piece of paper? Like that's probably what he's telling people to stand.
Yeah, or to be intimidating to maybe people don't go there to vote. Yeah, it's a little bit of a little creepy for me if we're talking about who's a creep.
I want to talk more about the Pledge of Allegiance, to be honest. I think that's.
I was kind of past it, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I do feel like you need to kind of like somewhat pledge allegiance to this country. Like I live here.
So here's the thing with the idea of it, of being like, since it's I mean, I guess we're a republic, whatever, not a straight democracy, but the idea of it is that the best ideas win out. So you can't like, it can't be like a loyalty pledge to like a party or something like that. It has to be to the ideals of the Constitution. Right. So that's where it would stand. Like to that, then I'd say, yeah, that's cool. That's a good thing to pledge your allegiance to. I don't think it comes off that way when candidates talk about that. It's like, I need your undying loyalty no matter what I do. And he said, the president has said that I can go outside, shoot someone in the face on Fifth Ave, and I'm not going to lose supporters because it's a loyalty thing instead of an ideals of the country and Constitution. Although they frame it that's what it is it really?
All right. So if the Pledge of Allegiance was shortened to "I promise to uphold the Constitution," would you say it?
I just think isn't that what the oath judges take?
Would you say it?
I mean, I've said it. I've gone through school. I've said it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
like I don't
but
really.
I'm saying, but given the choice, like, do you?
But here's the thing: given the choice,
do you think that's if you live in this country?
But the only times we say it,
then we should say, yeah, I'll follow by the rules.
How many times? Like, where do you hear the Pledge of Allegiance outside of schools?
No, you don't. I mean, the fact that it was just installed into fucking schools, I don't know.
That makes it a little weirder now, right?
That is definitely weird. I mean,
because there's nowhere else. It's not like it happens. But
teach them young. That's what they were doing.
That's what I'm saying, though. That's what makes it weird, because it's not like the national anthem. Like, it's not like we sing it. They do that before games or whatever. It's not before the Olympics. Like, it's a little odd. A little odd. Now that we're back at it, I was ready to back out of that one, being like, whatever. Now that we've talked a little more about it, I'm like, it's a little stranger now. That's the only place you've ever heard it is from little kids at school.
True. And maybe that's what it is. Is like, the same thing. A mom will say to a child, like, promise that you won't be be violent. Promise that you won't do this. I promise, Mom.
But then why do you need everyone else to do it at the same time in
because
school?
Because the kid promised. I get it. It's complete control mechanism.
Is that where another brick in the wall came from? Maybe, like, especially using kids for the chorus of "We don't need no." I mean, obviously they're not American. That's their English play, so probably has nothing to do with it. But I kind of like the parallels.
I don't know. I don't know what a country would. Oh shit! Did you drink one and I drank the other?
I don't know. Why'd you put it right next to mine?
My water went down here, and
I
noticed it was wrong. I thought it fell. I noticed it was gone. I thought it fell, but I think you.
Maybe I drank both of them.
It's all good.
Whatever. Hope you don't have COVID, since we have no masks on. Obviously, I'm just talking shit. We work together pretty much every day. Like, we know what's up. We're comfortable. I don't need to hear it. I'm not. And if you know anything about me, I'm certainly not anti-mask. So I'm just talking shit. Let's have a little levity. Let's laugh a little too. Or don't. Yeah, I'll go fuck myself.
I pledge allegiance to the rules set forth in the Constitution and for the public with whom I stand, one nation, we've got frogs, individual, with liberty and justice for all.
I mean, I guess that's a new one.
I don't know. That's a...
Just to let you know, you said that with no context.
Oh, the context was me reading. Anybody watching that's not reading the chat is like.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
say that?
This is going to be available as just audio. So
yeah, I just realized that. I got to stop watching the chat because I'm getting thrown off on what. I
told you it's a lot. It's a lot to do at once, man.
He types faster than I can talk.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So I mean, all in all, I think we did a good.
We've exhausted this topic. I think. Not exhausted, but
the people that are in the chat, if there's anything about the debates that we didn't, a subject, anything that we didn't touch on that you'd like us to, throw it in there real quick, and we'll decide whether we actually talk about it. But if nothing pops up, then we'll just get out of this and go into something else.
All right, so let's talk about actually. Oh, okay, never mind.
No, go for it.
No, I was going to talk about the whole catch-22 on.
Oh.
On science, whether or not you believe science and the vaccine, and whether or not Harris and Biden, by basically saying you can't even trust the scientists or the health experts, that she thinks they'll be muzzled and suppressed. So by saying that, she's basically creating a public opinion that even though they come out with a vaccine, you might not want to trust them. And is that okay?
Judging the way that the administration has handled this whole thing, I actually think it's a little fair. I don't agree with it as a tactic. Honestly, I think they should be more. Just because one side is divisive, or if you feel one side is divisive, I don't think it's a reason to, again, fight fire with fire. Eye for an eye type of tactic in it. I think you should just be more reasonable.
How will the public health experts be muzzled? How will they be suppressed? Are they going to be threatened?
I mean, that's yeah. I mean, however,
is that
they could be fired? Like if it's in certain positions. I mean, I don't know exactly what happened with they saying like the information has to go to the White House, like the CDC information has to go to the White House first, and like not out to like its other normal outlets. Like that's a way to suppress information and just let out what you want to let out. I think it's pretty dangerous. I don't think that's the right way to handle that.
People say they are currently suppressed and muzzled. How? Like,
are
there actual, like, are there things against them being able to speak right now, or
could they be?
What are these muzzle mechanisms? That's what I'm curious about when people make claims that they're muzzled.
A lot of it depends. I mean, it depends on who and what the position is, right? If you're a nurse in Florida, it just might be getting fired. If you're an appointee in somewhere in the CDC or something like that, it could have different ramifications.
But if they're getting fired for different, like they're not getting fired. Oh, well, you said this and we didn't want you to say that, so we're firing you.
Well, no, they make up different reason. They can't just say that it was for.
So making the claim that they're being muzzled is more of a theory than a fact, right? Because you can't. You're saying, well,
In theory, I'd say that's probably incorrect.
It insinuates that they're being muzzled, but there's no. You can't. It's not.
Maybe I'm not understanding where that's coming from. Are you saying like somebody saying they're gonna be muzzled, or the person being muzzled saying that?
No, people
saying that those people are gonna be muzzled.
People between our chat and Kamala Harris saying like they'll be muzzled, they'll be suppressed. And people are like, well, they are muzzled and they are suppressed. Like, how? One person said they changed their website. That doesn't tell me they're muzzled. That tells me they changed their website, and you're insinuating that means they were muzzled because you think they were muzzled. But it doesn't mean they were muzzled just because they changed their website. People can change. I mean, that's like, is somebody who stood against the Second Amendment and is now not against the Second Amendment. Were they muzzled, or did they just change their opinion?
I don't think that this is correlating the way you'd want. I would need a specific example there to really say like what that is, but to say.
Hold on.
I mean,
telling us to read the chat.
There are reasons why there are whistleblowers, right? Because up until that, people were like, this information was suppressed from getting out somehow. And that's why eventually there's a whistleblower that's like takes it upon themselves to be like, this has to get out because it's being suppressed for whatever reasons in whatever way. And each time that happens, it's, possibly in a different way. So to say it broadly as, does that happen where stuff gets suppressed? I think you could point to stuff to things that have happened and be like, yes, it does. If you want to now point to, well, she said this about scientists and information, like it would be what kind? I mean, I'd have to assume would mean the CDC, because anybody independently could kind of come out and say whatever they want to a certain degree. Right. So that would be my take on what was said there, I guess. Public availability of data changed in order to prevent groups from objectively evaluating COVID. This is some stuff going on in the chat. The chat is yelling at us to read the chat. I get it. We're doing a lot of things, man.
Manipulating the website data and not reporting. So but that's not muzzling. How far back do I have to go?
Here's the guidance.
But when they change the guidance, they're also getting a lot more data and information. So they keep changing the guidance. I mean, they literally sent guidance out to the hospitals saying, chalk it all up to COVID, even if you suspect it without proof. and then they recanted that. And I don't know if that's muzzling versus correcting your public-facing information.
So here's a way that stuff gets suppressed and muzzled. I think I have the answer for it. When you're in the position to tell people what's happening, and you say, "Now I'm going to downplay it." I've always wanted to downplay it. I think that's a way of, it's not maybe direct muzzling, but it's sowing. It's adding to misinformation, right? So like if information's coming out like, "Hey, this is," and you know it's dangerous, and you're saying, "Oh, it's not that bad, and it'll go away, like it'll just poof like that, disappear. Like it's only 2 people have it. Don't worry about it." Da 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 da. Like, is that not a way of suppressing information? Because there's information saying one thing, you know that information to be true, but you're playing it down. As the leader of the United States.
No, I get that, but he's not. Nobody's being. Are they being muzzled, or is he?
Well, that's
just
what I just
playing
said.
It down?
It's not a direct. I just said it wasn't direct. I was like, is not a form.
Or is he
of
just
having the same effect?
Or is he just over misinforming?
Or is that even a worse effect than muzzling somebody to purposely put out misinformation?
I'm just saying I don't think they're muzzled. I think he's just overcasting a bigger shadow of misinformation.
Okay, but at the end result, this is what I'm saying though. But the
so
end
and
I'm saying what I'm asking is the end result actually worse than being muzzled? Purposely putting misinformation out there and adding to it when it's literally life or death things that are going on and has ramifications with real people's lives. The people that you're sworn to protect, American lives.
Ask the question again.
Is that not worse, the end result worse, to purposely put out misinformation about something that has the ability to kill people and like threaten Americans' lives? When there's information out there,
this is the hard question. Is that worse than muzzling?
Well, if you're saying that it's not Muslim, if it's not Muslim, great. Let's get canceled right away.
But like, what's collateral? What's collateral damage? How do you measure collateral damage on one action versus another? Like, okay, for example, the president finds out tomorrow there's a meteor coming for the Earth and it's going to kill us all. Does he tell us? Does he have an obligation to tell us right away? Should he tell us right away, or could it be widespread panic?
Here's the thing.
It might not be a good idea. But either way, we're fucked.
Here's
and I
the
get
thing.
it. But
that information will get out regardless. So now do you lie about it, right? Because
why would it get out regardless?
We're not the only ones with satellites.
Won't get out if they're muzzled.
No, listen, we're not. It's all over the world, right? I'm not talking about, because now you're bringing up something a little more global.
Okay.
Even though this is a global
pandemic. There's a meteor coming to the United States. It's going to hit us in northern Texas. It's only going to make it as far as the east and west coast. It doesn't affect Canada. It doesn't affect Central America.
I mean, unfortunately, that's not possible.
The president just found out. He could tell us that we're all going to die, potentially.
Listen, let's just cut to the chase, man.
And I'm not saying he did the right thing by downplaying it. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm not saying that he should have just come right to the cameras and said, "Hey guys, we got a bad virus. It's going to kill a lot of fucking people." And but he could have done it totally differently.
But listen, have you seen how this has happened before, right? This is something I thought he really fucked up on the debate. Yeah. Bringing up H1N1 was the dumbest thing you could do in response to COVID. Stupid. Like it's apples and oranges. It's not even in the same stratosphere
he was reaching, and he reached into like it was stupid topic.
Yeah, it was so dumb to do that. But it's like we've had these threats before, and so we, in a way, know how to respond to them in some way, right? We know certain protocols to take when these things happen, right? And I don't recall, during H1N1 or Ebola. I remember Ebola and actually being a little shook. Like, damn, I remember that from Outbreak. Like that could be, like that could really fuck up some shit. Like I was a little shook, but the way that it was presented and handled, like it was like, oh, this really ain't shit. Like I had looked this up before, and again, I'm bad with the details, so I don't know. It was like maybe 2 people died in the United States of Ebola. We had 14,000 H1N1. And then people bring up the flu too, and it's something like it still averages 38,000 a year for the flu. So none of these are the same thing. Like none of them are comparable. So to say like, I don't want to get into the whole COVID's a hoax thing, because like I just can't. I'm kind of past dealing with those people that think that. But it's something that that we've been through in a way. There's a protocol to do it, and to just ignore it and just say everything's cool, like that seems like a horrible plan. That just doesn't seem like the way to do it. Knowing,
like I said, I don't think he handled it the right way. I just don't know. Like, I don't know.
Do you
know,
want?
how do we feel about like the government being totally honest about all their findings at all times?
Again, that could be apples to oranges, right? Like when it's something, it's different when it's a meteor or aliens or whatever. I think that's different than a virus that is.
All right, so fuck the meteor. I used a bad example of the meteor.
Yeah, no, because the real issue is the issue, right? We don't have to make up a side issue to talk about, though, something similar. Like, it's actually a real issue. Let's just talk about that. Let's talk about the real issue of what's happening and what happened. And that's really where, well, like I said, I didn't vote for either Republican or Democrat last election. And
Sanders.
No, actually, no. I wasn't going to write. I felt like writing in made no sense whatsoever. So anyway, it was a protest vote for sure because I live in New York, so I knew where it was going. So I will objectively say I did that knowing that, or feeling very strongly where the state was going to go anyway. So it was kind of, I had the luxury of doing that with my vote. Let's put it that way, maybe. I don't think I would have done the same thing if I lived in Ohio or Florida.
Isn't that a problem?
A little bit.
Right.
But out of all the problems
that you can be made to believe that your vote doesn't count, and then you're told your vote counts. But like you can literally look at it, from a bird's eye view and say, hey, I live in a blue state. Like my vote really doesn't count.
Or we can talk about that can lead you into the electoral college and like, all right, maybe we should just do a popular vote because then your vote will 100% count no matter what, like in a very real way.
Why is it so hard for? I still don't understand why it's so difficult to. Well, first of all, if you don't pay taxes, should you be able to vote?
Yes, because it's a constitutional right, and there's nothing about taxes in the Constitution.
Okay, fair enough. So then everybody who lives in this country can vote
as a citizen.
And everybody has a social security number.
As far as I
know,
right?
If you
makes you a citizen,
you can't vote without one. Can you vote without one? Maybe you have a.
Can you be a citizen without a social security number? That's the question.
You can have a green card.
Okay, so there you go.
Can you vote with a green card?
Does that make you a citizen?
I don't know. I don't know. But my question
listen,
is like,
Sam would know this. I feel like Sam knows this. Green card. Does that make you a citizen? Your husband's English. I don't know if you wanted everyone to know that, but now they do. Green card does not make you a citizen. Okay. Settled.
What is that?
A green card does not make you a citizen.
Okay, so everybody basically who votes has a social security number. So, like...
Well, I still don't know if we established that, but I think it's going closer to that. I think it's going closer. Anyway, just finish the thought.
Can't they just make an app? Why didn't they make an app? Why can't they just make a fucking government voting app?
Well, how many apps and databases have been breached just from huge companies and banks?
So let's do it via U.S. mail to protect that?
Well, no, you actually go and you vote.
Well, yeah, vote in person.
Yeah.
And how many of the voting machines have been breached?
No, yeah. I mean, that's a big issue because every state does it in their own way. So, listen, nothing's going to be 100% foolproof.
Right. So Will's a programmer, right? And what is the
blockchain?
A blockchain programmer.
Yeah. No, I don't know if he is. I say if you were going to do it safely online, it would probably have to be with the development of blockchain.
Absolutely.
Something that could be.
You need end-to-end. You need full encryption, and you need
everybody can check it.
But yeah, cracking a voting machine is not a difficult thing. They actually have a hackers convention every year and in Vegas, and one of the competitions was everybody got a voting machine to try to hack it. And I think I don't know, I don't remember what I read, but I feel like all of them were able to do it within an hour. Okay, so not everyone has internet. Totally get it.
Well, here's the thing.
That's a bigger problem to me.
But that can just be another way to vote. It doesn't have to be the only way to vote. Right? Because then that's expanding everybody to exercise their constitutional rights. So you could do it in person, you could mail in a ballot, and you can do it online in a secure way. Like, I'm okay with there being more options of how to vote and they're all going to have issues. So to come out against any of them saying that, well, it's vulnerable and da 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 da. Well, we established voting machines are. If you again, we have to go on stats that we have, right? So there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Everybody likes to think there is, and they'll point to articles. All right, they'll point to
there
examples.
Are instances.
Widespread,
Not widespread.
You
no.
have to be. Yeah, this is why I'm careful with how I'm saying it. Widespread, like election changing. Like maybe you find something in a local election where there was 35 ballots or something like that, and it did change. All right, cool, whatever. Like you're getting into a semantic argument at that point. But for presidential elections, there's no evidence ever of widespread voter fraud. And when it happens, guess what? There are examples of it happening. And guess what happens? Those people get prosecuted. It's a fucking crime. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you can't get... I don't know how mad you can get at something happening and then them getting the consequences. That actually, Trump mentioned it during the debate. They found... And it's very weird how this was reported because the articles I saw about it of, like, they found ballots in a trash can in Pennsylvania, right?
Nine ballots.
It was 9 ballots. Every picture of it, though, was a whole fucking truckload of ballots or all this mail and everything. Every single picture in the articles.
That's MSM.
But here's the again. So let's use our brain power just like we kind of did with that.
Definitely tax credit for voters. Go on.
With that radical left comment during the debate, and if you think about it, what that could actually mean. So if you're pointing to this Pennsylvania thing as first, again, it's not widespread voter fraud. It's 9 ballots. And it was caught before the election. Is that not an example of the system working?
Which system?
The whatever you want to call it, the checks and balances of voting or ballots the process of mail-in ballots.
I guess if it's not like they're checking every trash can. So if the fact that somebody stumbled on it and caught it, you can extrapolate that to, okay, this probably exists elsewhere.
But no, all right, so maybe there was 9 in one state. So if there was 9 in every state,
there was 9.
Does that matter?
There was 9 like so far in the news.
So, but there's also but that's this
but
is
that
where
doesn't mean there's 9 just because.
But
just
you can't
it's
use
the only
that.
one that's been found doesn't mean it's the only one that's
okay. But you can't use that as like definitive proof of this some widespread problem that has been basically disproven over and over and over again, right? So. What do you like? What do you do with that information? Is that like, oh, no one should ever mail in a ballot again? Because that's how that is. I mean, it's brought up. Like, it's how the military votes that are overseas. Obviously, military people that are in the United States don't have to vote by absentee ballot. But everybody overseas fighting for the freedom of you to vote.
Right.
That's how they vote. So we're going to say like they can't do that anymore? Like no one's going to say that, right? Of course, no one's going to come and say that. So why can't just a regular citizen that can't get to and obviously they can't because they can request an absentee ballot. And I like what Trump said there. Like, yeah, you can request one, get one, and you can vote that way. I could say that I don't, maybe not cool with the idea of just sending them to everyone, like just sending them all out.
That's like, and that's what he was saying last night. Actually, unsolicited ballots.
I can agree with that sentiment of like but also though there has to be a way to make that process clearer, if that's what you're going to abide by. And right now it's not. So how do you combat that and still give people the chance to exercise their right? You send them out. There were some very good articles written. I wish I had the links to them. I would have put them up about what a mail-in ballot is and like what it takes to like produce it, like all the kind of like fail safes there are as far as, because one of the things he said is going to be China's going to flood us with fake ballots. So like that's one of the things that's just not true. Like that's not going to be something they can do because of the process of each state is different, right? There's very particular, almost like counterfeiting money. Yeah. Like it's, but that, you could say that's easy to do. Or like, yeah, I mean, I knew people that used to do it back in the day.
Though, that as like counterfeit ballots.
Apparently not to the degree of what they're talking about. Like,
I mean, it would have to be a really large operation to replace real ballots with counterfeit ballots. But there are people who said they got 2 ballots. A lot of people.
And guess what happens? And guess what happens if you use both of them? You're going to go to jail. If you're caught, like that's what voter fraud is.
If you're
like,
caught,
if you want to participate in voter fraud,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
And that's what does happen though. These cases.
So what do they? So now you send 2 ballots to a person who doesn't remember whether or not she sent hers in, so she fills out another one. She's going to jail because of she just like didn't realize she sent in two.
I mean, maybe. Like
that, and that's and then it's gonna fuck up the whole. Now they have to. Oh wait,
but
she already voted.
But there is.
I got two ballots for the same person. One says Trump, one says Biden. What do I do?
So I would like to actually table this discussion to next week then.
Okay.
Because I would like to actually deep dive into that. Because I remember doing this already, so like I want to like go back to that and really set everything on point and not just guess.
Just to make 2 points, like because the reason I can see it being an issue, I don't think it is an issue, but it can be, and the reason I say that is there's really deceptive shit going on in the mail, and like I'll get as an employer, you get when you have to post certain things and you have to have special workers' comp compliance posters, put them up conspicuously, blah blah blah, and while you can print them off, from the website. There are companies that solicit you acting like they are New York State. Buy this for $75 because New York State mandates that you must have this poster on display. Here it is for $75.
Is it a fake poster?
No.
Okay.
But they're deceiving me into thinking that it's New York State that has reached out to me because the title is like, New York State official workers compliance, so on and so forth. So I can't imagine how many people just paid that $75 thinking they had to pay the $75.
But what was the first sentence you said? You said like something sneaky about the mail. What does that have to do with being sneaky?
Because the fake ballot,
mail being
people
the
can
problem.
send a ballot and fake, it could be a fake ballot, and they might not, I don't know.
Well, that's
I'm
not
just
the
saying,
post
like,
office,
people can be very easily deceived.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good way to weed out fucking dum-dums. Like, what? I don't know.
I'm just saying, but.
But I don't. Where is that the fault of or the problem of the post office?
I never blamed the post office.
I'm sorry, then I heard you wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I never said. I just said I was saying the problem with just doing a lot of this by mail. Like New York State, you can't even file your NYS 45s by mail. Everybody must do it either through a digital exchange, digital handshake like QuickBooks. Or you have to go straight to their website and input the information.
But you get your driver's license in the mail. You get your license plates in the mail.
I get that.
People get medication in the mail.
I get that, but I report withholding taxes to the state, and I can't do it by mail. They require you do it electronically. They don't have a problem with it.
But I don't think it's
not
because.
A big issue.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's because they think there's an issue with the post office. I think it's just more efficient for them to get it that way and to go through it.
Right. I understand that it's efficient and effective.
So it's not.
So I'm just. I don't know. Like, yeah.
I know it's hard. We gotta. It's hard. You gotta.
It's hard. You say like
you have to have consistent trains of thoughts on these things. I know it's not. It's not easy. Sometimes, but that's what it takes, right? Is discussing it out in the open to be like, all right, you know what? I see where that makes sense, and maybe where it's not the same thing, or whatever. Yada yada yada. And that's how we hopefully come to like some type of communal agreement on some things, it would be. I mean, we might have to table this for next time too, and deep dive into it a little more of exactly what's happening at the post office and why and who's directing it at the same time where we're obviously going through with mail-in ballots. Like it's really like it's odd timing. It's odd timing. If you really wanted to, and here's another thing: like if you really wanted to contest an election, or you've already put out this thought, and he did it last election too. Of it just gonna be, if you didn't win, it's fraudulent. Would you then maybe throw out 9 ballots? If you wanted people to believe that it's gonna be a fraudulent election, like wouldn't you be the one to do that? Maybe. Why would you just kind of wait for something like that to happen that might not ever happen, and where the most accurate data and stats show that it probably isn't going to happen in a way that you're gonna I don't know, catch before the election or whatever it might be? Like maybe you're the one that puts the wheels in motion for that to happen. And I mean not you personally, but like your sphere of people. It seemed like an easy way to do. Again, we're talking about
Are we talking about it or are we
small-
tabling it? You're like, maybe we should table this topic for next week. Let me give you my opinion on it first.
Well, I know I switched it though. I switched it to something else. I did the Trump. I was like, stand by, Antifa. I'm zigzagging around. The tabling one is going to be our mail-in ballot safe. Basically, that's going to be the topic. You know, like, or should we be worried about them, or however you want to interpret that. And just I'll refind everything about every case that's ever happened about voter fraud or mail-in ballots or whatever. But by and large, it's not a big threat. Now, the counter argument could be, all right, well, we never done it at this volume, and that's a legit counter argument, right? And it's also maybe a little rushed for that volume as well. I don't think you're wrong to think that either. But that's why we have to table it, because then it's like, all right, well, if you believe all that, then shouldn't you, in someone who believes in a fair and democratic process, like, help the post office deal with that instead of maybe doing the opposite? And I said maybe because we're going to table it and
I feel
get our facts
muzzled.
straight.
I feel muzzled right now because Josh keeps telling me
How does it feel,
we're going to
motherfucker?
table it, but I'm going to just inject my opinion.
No, I didn't
we'll talk
inject
about it
the
next
opinion.
week. I'm going to ask these
I was stating
leading questions for you not to answer.
that's
next
what
week.
you're going to think about until next week.
Muzzled. I've been muzzled. The states that are completely mail-in don't have issues because the states that are completely mail-in have a
They've been
tiny
doing
population
But
too.
they've also been doing it forever, so they
Right.
have the process down. You know, that's fair to say.
But all right, so here's a question: you live in New York City, you got access to to the internet.
So you can also take your ballot to, like, there are like official ballot drop-off points too. So you
Right.
can still get a mail-in ballot and then don't have to mail it back. You can bring it in person still, and you can do that early and all of that.
Okay, I want to fax my ballot. Can you fax ballots? Is there a fax in voting?
I fucking hope not.
Can I call in my? I want to call in my vote.
I don't think anybody that still has a fax machine should be allowed to vote. How about that?
Why do I feel like I gotta prove myself more to
Hold
utilities
on.
companies?
Why did the chat
than
take
whether
us?
or not I have the right to vote?
Why did the chat take you serious in in thinking that could you really fax in a vote?
Could you? Oh, they
Because they were like,
did
no, you
take me
can't fax it
seriously?
in.
I don't even see the chat. Who said that?
That was not
can't
Jamie.
fax, can't call. Yeah, Will, I wasn't being serious. I don't think you can fax in your vote. Somebody once asked me recently, they're like, do you have a fax? I was like, no, I have a fucking email account and you have a camera phone. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
And then there was also, like, if you have a printer at home that's a all-in-one scanner, like, you can fax that way too. Like, if you really needed to. If for whatever reason it has to be a facsimile, because that's just the mode of communication that you want to stick with, you can still do it that way, and I'll just get it as an email. Thanks.
We used to get fax, like fax spam. I never even knew that existed until we had until our fax machine just started getting hit with like random gutter cleaning service faxes, and I was like, how do you go out and start faxing people?
Oh, they spam you no matter what.
Yeah, it's
Any way to
crazy.
communicate with you, you get spam.
It's
I get the
fucking
same
crazy.
voicemail every single day about, this is our final attempt to reach you about your extended car warranty. And I'm like, really? Because I really wish it was, because I get that message every single day.
So
it's not your final attempt.
There are two ways to avoid the robocall that I've seen work. One, when you answer it, hit 9. A lot of them, if they're actually legit, then 9 is the like national opt-out number or whatever. The other way to avoid robocalls, you answer the phone and you hit the mute button and you say nothing. And what they'll do, they're waiting for you to say hello, or they're waiting for your voicemail. If they get either of those, they're gonna literally on their internal database, they're gonna mark you as a human being, and they're gonna put your number in that category. But if you answer and hit mute, it's a dead line to them, and the robocall will mark you as a dead line and will take you off because it's not worth the effort. So that is 100% what you're supposed to do. Answer the robocall and hit the mute button right away and wait for them to either hang up on you or wait for the person who called you and you just didn't recognize the number to say hello. You just say, oh, hey, sorry, I thought you were a robocaller. Once you take off mute.
So I was just I had gotten a text and just saw my voicemails, and that voicemail I was talking about is there today too.
Yeah.
Like,
because I saw you get a robocall yesterday. You hit decline, sent them right to voicemail where they say, "Hey, it's Josh. You leave a message." So they left a message and they registered, "Hey, this number belongs to a guy named Josh."
But after that, I just
so
deleted
they're
it.
gonna keep calling you.
Yeah, but then I don't pay attention to it. I delete it.
Except for the fact that we're talking about it right now and you're looking at your phone
Well,
telling me
it's
that
because
it's there, paying
about
attention to
we
it.
talk about spam and communication.
Yeah, I'm just
So.
saying. There's an avoidance tactic that works pretty well. I don't know how we got into that, but because we were spamming fax machines. Josh, you're catching up on the chat, aren't you?
A little bit,
Yeah.
because I think Sam's just realizing that she's on a little bit of a delay.
We don't even know the context of what she's talking about because she's
Possibly.
referring to this and that.
Possibly. Whatever. Well, just be a little more thorough in what you're saying.
We have had 4 viewers I'm one of them. So that makes
listen.
There's a phantom viewer
It's
not in the chat.
live viewing in something like this, especially for just starting on a mixed platform. Like, it's not its own podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we're just putting it out there. The big thing is, obviously, we'll upload the audio. That's how I listen to all podcasts that I listen to. I very rarely watch it unless I know it's something that's visual and kind of crazy, and I want to see that part that has that. Then maybe I'll check it out someday. But usually, it's the Stitcher app or Spotify in the car while I drive. And that's how I listen to podcasts. So we'll upload the audio.
I can honestly say, like, before even doing the Alien one we did a long time ago, I don't think I had ever listened to a full podcast. When I drive would be the only time I could listen to them, and I just couldn't do it. I don't know.
Well, you got to find one that interests you, you know?
Yeah, I guess that's my that's my music time.
I was going to say that
Driving is music time for me.
100%. So, like, if there's something else you do in that time, then do that.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't even drive long enough to listen to our entire podcast, which is pushing 2 hours now.
I drive a lot. That's why I get to listen to so many.
That's true.
And since I do music for a living,
Very true.
I just don't need to listen to more music a lot of times as I'm driving, especially after performing music all night long. I'm like, I don't need a beat in my head right now.
That's why when I drive, I love to listen to music that I don't play.
I'll do that.
That's,
yeah.
Like
there are times I do that.
I drive to like Frank Sinatra, or I'll drive to like In Excess Radio on Pandora.
I like.
Recently, I've done Third Eye Blind and Matchbox 20 Radio.
Okay.
It's great rock from the 90s, early 2K.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
I like throwing it back a little farther, and I'll go do like a Pink Floyd station or something, and you'll get into like, everything from whatever, Billy Joel, Eric Clapton, and all this other stuff, like Creedence. Like, there's a lot of good stuff that comes on randomly there, and that you just don't listen to like that.
True.
You know.
True.
So I like mellower stuff usually on the drive home.
On Spotify, there's a good one called the New Alt. It's like the new age alternative rock or alternative pop or whatever it is, but it's really good. I don't know any of the artists, any of the songs on there, but when I hear it, I'm like, this is just good vibe music.
Yeah.
Something better than good vibe music.
No doubt.
Van Morrison's a little, like, I don't know. I can't listen to like Crazy Love and.
Well, it's because it's something you're accustomed to hearing.
Yeah, we do.
Because of like
Sam, we do a lot of weddings, so Van Morrison is like kind of off the.
But
I
don't mind it, like, and even like the Doors and like.
I'll do Jackson Brown too,
Okay.
even though I don't know, but I like Motown. I'll rock Motown radio.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's such happy music. It's such good. Like,
that
you
stuff
could
I
just
play
snap
and
your
actually
fingers.
don't mind listening to it
Exactly.
in my spare time.
I'll never
Also
get old of.
Yeah.
I'll never get sick of Aretha.
Yeah. So this is good. We went from like
Music. We gotta talk about music. Music is like literally what binds us all. It's the
literally our life.
common language. So all right. So here's a question, because I talked to my wife about this a lot, and about she's a lyrics person. She loves to listen to music for the lyrical value. Like for most music, unless it's like a rap song, or you're like listening to like how they like mishmash the English language. I'm more about the harmony and the beat and syncopation of like all the instruments, and how it, like, generally the vibe of the harmonics of the music, and then the lyrics to me are like the salt and pepper. But I don't know, like when I hear music, I like the music, but I'd be curious to know, like, if that's like, I don't know.
To me, it just depends on.
We should put out like a vote on Facebook. Are you a lyrics person or a music person?
It just depends on what I'm listening to personally. You know, like I like a lot of like that 70s funk and stuff like that. Motown, same thing because of the musicality of it.
Right.
But if I'm listening to rap and hip hop, I have both views on it. If I'm DJing, then it's all about the beat and the reaction of the crowd. If it's stuff that I'm listening to, I need some impressive lyrics.
True. But when the lyrics are sang beautifully, the lyrics don't matter as much, right? Because there's
yeah. If you can say something that sounds awesome but doesn't mean shit,
right?
Yeah.
So there's I could think of some Latin songs that I like. There's one song called Una Palabra, which it's one word. And the words are like one word. Una palabra no dice nada. Like one word doesn't say anything, but it hasn't like if you didn't even know the words to that, you still love the way the song flows. It's beautiful song. It's like a slow, really dramatic, quiet, nice, soft song. But then you look like another Latin song. One is La Camisa Negra, which is like I have a black shirt. La Camisa Negra is the black shirt. And
just sounds better.
It's actually better
in Spanish,
well,
right?
Yeah, but it's I'm pretty sure it's like a racially charged song in Spanish, but you don't know what it means. It's just it's like it's poppy, and I think even in hip hop, sometimes it's not like it. Well, definitely nowadays with fucking mumble hip hop or whatever they call it, but
just club hits in general. Generally speaking,
club hits. It's not what you're saying. It's
just
hook. How it's syncopated to what you're saying. It's how it's syncopated to beat. So again, I stand by the fact that most music is good because of the music, not the lyrics. But
I like
the lyrics are good.
Ti amo. That's my song that I like. That I don't know what the hell they're saying. Like I love that. Like the sound of that song is awesome, and like you feel
I love you.
Yeah, but you still feel the emotion and everything. The way he goes into it. Like I love that song, and aside from that part, I don't know anything he's saying. And I'm half Italian. I don't even know what the hell he's talking about.
You're half Italian?
Technically not a whole half. Like I'm maybe like 25%, 30.
So you're not half Italian.
No. But it's just a figure of speech.
So you just want to just go out there.
It's
because figure of speech. Half Italian is not a figure of speech. That's a statement of fact. Yeah, man.
All right. Touche.
Lyrics are poetic.
That's because
we're talking about whether or not Josh is half Italian because he claims to be.
Because it's on my mom's half of the family.
Dude,
that's
you should
why.
be in politics, man.
I'm good. I don't. Although
there's Italian on my mom's half of the family, so I am.
No, but you think like, well, half my like.
So
it's
what you're saying is that you are
half
part Italian.
Yes. I was thinking like during the debate, I was like, okay, maybe I just put this out there. Clearly, I'm not as good as a businessman as Trump, right? Like I paid a little more than $750.
I was just going to say your tax returns might say that you made more money in business than he did.
But clearly I'm not as good. But I would have loved to be on the debate stage with him. Like I think that would be a fun debate. Because like that's what he needs somebody like he couldn't do that. He would be awesome. Like he can do this to an older like somebody who's in that lane of like this is how politics are and debates go, and that has more tact, I guess. But like he couldn't have done that if it was up against like a comedian. You know what I'm saying? Like someone who's just so used to like either being in a roast battle or dealing with fucking an asshole crowd and hecklers or something, and that's what they do for a living. Like those same tactics that he did would not have flown, I think, at all. Being in there with someone who like. That's what they do. You're
saying a comedian who was running for president debating against him?
Just debate him. You don't have to run for president. Just be in a debate.
Jeff Ross.
Yeah,
I'd love to see Jeff Ross up there.
Fucking crush him.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
But that's how I feel like. And I'm not saying obviously I'm not a fucking stand-up or anything like that. But I just feel like, I came up with like snaps and yo mama jokes and stuff like that, and like just in my group of friends we give each other shit and talk shit all the time. Like he just wants to talk shit and put in zingers. Like all right, let's do that. This will be fun. Try to talk over me, motherfucker. Let's you know what I'm saying. Let's go.
Exactly.
I don't know. It'd be fun.
I just got so many pictures in my head of like what comedians would be best placed at like. Whatever happened to Kathy Griffin?
Is that a serious question?
Is she like
you do know?
Is her career relevant anymore? I know she did like.
Was it ever first, second?
True, very true.
Do Are you just forgetting what
with the
she did? Or
with the picture?
yeah, no,
No.
you're not. Okay, all right. Just
No,
that's
the
why
picture of her holding the fake dead head of
Yeah,
President Trump. No,
Okay.
but there was something more recent in the media too with her,
alright.
and I don't even know. But like, I guess the assumption is that was career suicide for her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever was left of it.
crazy.
I know she. That's what a weird career in general. You know what I'm saying? Like just
Yeah, like-
where like she, because she was in Pulp Fiction. It was just like, I don't even know if you call it a cameo because I don't even know how well known she was at the time. But she was one of the, when Marcellus Wallace crashed or was hit by the car after recognizing Bruce Willis. Like she was one of the people going up to him like, oh, going up to Bruce Willis like, are you okay, dude? Like, fucking got hit by a car. Like,
I was not. I was never a big. I always thought she was the
and
worst fucking one of the worst humans to watch.
yeah, I
know.
mean, she wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go say like she's a piece of shit. Like she just wasn't my cup of tea.
Who's your favorite comedian of all time?
Ooh, of all time, I think I have to give it to Dave Chappelle.
Really?
Yeah, I mean Bill Burr's right there too, of like just personal favorites. Like if we're gonna debate who's the best of all time, this might be a different conversation. But my just personal people that I enjoy listening to, love Bill Burr,
I think
love Dave Chappelle, almost
yeah.
everything they've ever done.
Old Carlin.
Yeah,
Old Carlin.
certain
Even
Carlin,
certain Carlin.
because he just put out more material than anybody ever. So
Yeah.
he was having specials every single year, where most, especially now, professional comedians are almost in agreement that the 2 to 3 year range is where stuff just, that's how you like get it seasoned and just perfect it. So he had a different approach. So there's going to be some filler in there just by the sheer amount. But he was one of those guys that were so on point about not only like he would be funny, but then to also just be interesting, right? And just come up with like interesting, like I would be. I actually said this. I tweeted in 2016. Like the biggest thing that we're missing out through all this like political madness is George Carlin.
True.
Like it would be awesome to have him during this.
Instead, we got Kathy Griffin and Ari Shaffir or some shit.
Oh, Ari Shaffir is awesome.
Shaffir.
Ari Shaffir is awesome.
Yeah,
You got to be like, he's one of those. If and this is just a problem in comedy to begin with, right? This happens all the time. Is that something they take a quote, they take a sentence, it's totally out of context, and they're like, look what this guy thinks, and it's like, no, it's a comedian making a joke. Like this is not where he's the hill he's gonna die on,
Right.
and vote this way or whatever they're trying to make it out to be. And with Ari, like he's known for a certain thing that he does. So if you don't know that about him, and then you see a random tweet, and you can use that to be outraged if you want, but that's why you have to take the next step and be like, all right, well, who is this person and what does he do? Oh, this is what you can just go through his Twitter feed,
right,
and be like, oh, okay, I get it,
right on brand.
Yeah, like how different is it than a Daniel Tosh or whatever, you know? Like
Tosh was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie.
I
think he just tried too hard sometimes.
He's actually really good. It's a shame that he doesn't do more stand up.
True.
True. Now he actually is really good. But then you have like an Anthony Jeselnik, like if you just want to talk about dark, fucked up shit, but is also fucking hilarious. It's not meant to be taken serious. Like this isn't a political debate. It's a fucking comedy show. Like.
I gotta say, the world of comedy though for comedians now, like they walk a fine line of like literally they are always one joke away from career suicide, and it's like it's unfortunate that in order to like kind of for some of these comedians they think that they have to like really, pierce a trigger topic and to get themselves to the next plateau of comedy. And it's like it's like do or die moment for them. They like for Kathy Griffin, she was like, I'm gonna fucking I'm gonna step up my game and I'm gonna do something super controversial. And then
But she already wasn't like, I mean,
and I don't think she deserves any more conversation, to be honest.
Always a comedian,
but like all right, for example, Jeff Ross. Years ago, I went to a comedy show. I think it was at Caroline's in the city, and he was one of the comedians, and he was awesome. But when he first got up on stage, he literally walked up, and it's a smaller comedy club, and we were kind of like right there, and he walked up, and he is not one to give a shit about appearances at all. And there was a family, parents with like, I don't know, like an 8 or 10-year-old boy, little blonde kid sitting right in the front row. And he literally walked up on stage, grabbed the mic, leaned into the mic, and looked at the kid from the side and just stared at him. And he waited for the whole crowd to get quiet. And he literally looked at this little fucking little boy. And we were all waiting to hear what he was going to say to this kid. And he goes, I would fuck you so bad. And the whole fucking crowd was like, holy fuck. Did he just say that? And the fucking parents, like, they're like, oh, the fuck, we should never bring this kid in.
Yeah, no
like,
shit.
Like, this was like, and the kid was like, I don't even think the kid knew what was being said to him. And that kid probably, I don't even know. Maybe they probably filed some shit against Jeff Ross after that. But that, you can't say shit like that now. You would never, like, I don't even know if that was funny at the time. That was like, I laughed at that the same way I laughed at the debate last night. Like, holy fuck, did that just come out of his mouth?
Yeah.
Pause.
Yeah.
But
I'm all for it. Like, it just can't be, right? You just can't be a mean, like, vindictive asshole or something like that, right? Otherwise, it's either all on the table or none of it is, right? Because something is always going to offend somebody.
Yeah.
So you have to allow it. If you're not inciting violence, then short of that, pretty much, you got to take the chance. And that's the other thing. Like, stand-up comedy is is like the only thing that like this art form that you need other people there. You can't do stand-up comedy in your bedroom by yourself, right? Like, you can write.
I can. I do. It's the best.
But yeah, right.
It's really fucking fun.
You have the best audience then, huh? Well,
not really. Sometimes they don't laugh at me.
But that's what I'm saying. Like,
sometimes they only laugh because I say some crazy shit like Jeff Ross.
You have to practice it in front of people, you know. So you might fuck up your notes, right?
True.
You don't know until you're. And guess what? It might work in front of every single crowd from New York to Florida, and then doesn't work in Idaho. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you have to go there and do it and find out that way. It's the only way to do it.
So this is really cool. So do you know what they do? I think we went to one of these for Marlon Wayans. Did we see Marlon Wayans together?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, no, it wasn't either. I saw Kevin Hart, right? And in a small club and this is weird because you would think like, oh, I saw this guy, I saw that guy. You'd think I go to a lot of comedy shows. I've been to like 5 in my life.
That's a good amount.
Really?
Just in general, I'd
I
say.
think there are people go like, they
like,
subscribe to a comedy club and they're like, hey, I'm going to go.
Yeah, there are comedy fans, right, that go do a lot. Same with concerts. But if you just like, if it's just something you've been to a few times, because same with me, I think I've only been to like 5 or so. I think it's a decent amount. Whatever. Anyway, go on.
Will says Jeff Ross always looks like he's ready to guest star on Taxi.
He also said that Eddie Murphy wasn't funny, was shit at comedy, and I have to say you're way off on that. Like, I'm definitely like Raw and Delirious are two of the funniest.
You got to keep in mind Eddie
Raw.
Murphy's his ability to do impressions is what also makes him like his ability to modulate his voice and like take on a character is comedy, and that makes him a good movie comedian.
Well, yeah, no, and he mentioned
was a
that
phenomenal stage comedian.
He did mention that.
Yeah, no, that's why I was crediting that. But yeah, Jeff Ross looks like he looks like the town bum from any town you could go, and just depending on the look that he decided for that week, whether it's the curly hair with the fucking chest hair open out, he looks like the guy outside Kmart in every town. Having said that,
so yeah, what happened when you saw Kevin Hart?
Oh yeah, so we saw Kevin Hart. So it's comedians, like what you're saying, right? They don't know if their jokes are going to work here or they're going to work there. So what they do is they actually tour and do last-minute pop-up shows around the country before they do their big main tour. So typically, like, if you see like a well-known comedian, and all of a sudden, like you see that they're gonna be where, like that somebody that big, like Sebastian Maniscalco is doing like a 100-person comedy show. Like he packed Radio City Music Hall, what was it, twice, and then he added 2 more dates because he sold out. And it's because they're literally going out and sampling material.
Mm-hmm.
So one of your favorite comedians, Chappelle, years and years ago. So the Kevin Hart, we saw him do that, and then all of a sudden he had a special, and all those jokes were in his special, and I had heard it like before he even announced he was on a special. When I was in high school, my buddies and I always loved the Chappelle comedy hour, Killing Him Softly. I could quote that all day. It was one of to me it was his best. And so we decided, oh man, this guy's hilarious. We're big fans. He wasn't that big of a deal yet. He was in Half Baked, and he had that one. I think it was an HBO special, and so he all of a sudden we got we saw that he was going to Caroline's, and it was A Night with Dave Chappelle was the title of the show. Did I ever told you this story? And so 2 or 3 of my buddies that we all listened to it got tickets, and we went. And you go and you sit down, you get your required 2 drinks or whatever, and then Dave Chappelle comes out to the stage smoking a cigarette, and there's a bench and a bench and a microphone. He's smoking a cigarette. He sits down, and he didn't say shit. He just talked to us like it was like he wasn't being funny. He was like, yeah, so I'm back in New York. I figured I would just try some material on you guys. I don't know. Like he was just like, we're just here to hang and try to get the vibe going, and everyone was like waiting for him to make them laugh. He wasn't making anyone laugh. And he's like, all right, well, so I'm just going to, I made these videos, a couple skits, and figured to just let you guys watch them.
You have told me that.
And
now
so we all just watched these skits, and they were, we then learned later on where we were the sample group for what was then, what would then be the concept for the Chappelle Show. So we actually got to see the Clayton Bigsby skit, which I remember very clearly, which was so funny. And You Got Great New York Boobs skit, and that whole one. And it was like, those were funny. And
probably another one you couldn't do today.
Yeah. Which one, the New York Boobs or the Clayton Bigsby? Both of them.
Yeah, probably, yeah, both.
You'd be muzzled.
Clayton Bigsby one is just, it's an all-time classic. I want to shout out my friend Sam in the chat because she hated the Chappelle Show, and somehow we're still friends. They're like,
that's a sign of a truly enlightened individual, is to be able to be friends with somebody who you see different opinions with.
Especially with something as undeniable as those skits.
But I just saw the Wayne Brady one the other day too. That was great. But it was it was cool. Brady? It was interesting, and we realized he didn't come there to make us laugh. He came there to show us the videos and stand back in the dark and watch us as we responded and reacted to these videos. And then there were videos that weren't that funny, and we never saw him again on the Chappelle Show. And it was cool to know that we were the focus group for the Chappelle Show.
So that 2 to 3.
But he got heckled. Some dude was like,
"There's always that one guy."
Some dude was like, "Do the chip thing," or like, "Tell a joke." And it was like, "Hey, who the fuck you talking to, bro? I don't gotta tell you shit." And it was literally the same Chappelle that walked off the stage because he got booed off because he didn't please his crowd. That he was dealing with millennials and all that. But he really doesn't give a fuck.
Oh, zero fucks. This is why he's so great, because he gives 0 fucks. Like
he's naturally funny though. The way he sees things.
He's been doing it since he was 14.
Yeah.
Like literally, basically as a professional. Not a professional. He was doing open mics and stuff, but he just eats, sleeps, and breathes comedy. He would do comedy in Washington Square Park on a literal soapbox. Just take it out there, start talking. That was his grind. That's what he did.
That's the best way.
He did
that's
it
how you do it,
after
man.
he disappeared.
That's what makes you good at stuff.
Doing
it against all odds.
After he disappeared off the Chappelle Show and everything, he'd do the same thing in Seattle. He would just pop up and be outside as Dave Chappelle. Now he's already fucking famous as fuck, and just start doing basically street performance.
That's gotta be the coolest thing. You see that whatever Yo-Yo Ma just playing cello
in the subway,
yeah. Or who
Hosier.
Hosier.
I don't know how to say
whatever.
It.
I think it's Hoser. Well, it's Hoosier. The Indiana Hoosiers, but he took an O off, and I don't know if that's
what. And he added a Z. It's Hozier.
Yeah, everybody adds a Z to their name.
The Hoosiers are Hoos.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. Okay. I think it's Hosier. I think it may be Hosier.
No idea.
I don't know. But he's an asshole for fucking coming up with such an ambiguous name that nobody can pronounce.
Yep.
Or nobody knows how to pronounce.
Or we're just dumb Americans, and wherever maybe he's not from here, and it makes perfect sense. Could be that. But Chappelle also had one of the specials that he did recently that's on Netflix is one of those small room. It was the belly room of the Comedy Store. It has holds maybe 50 people, and it's just him sitting down, kind of talking and riffing and just going with it. He's not doing a polished hour set.
Right.
It's just shooting the shit.
If he catches a good vibe,
yeah,
he's hilarious.
Yeah.
But if he's forced to just tell a joke, and he doesn't have a skit, he doesn't want to,
And
he's not gonna be that funny.
his new one, that 846 one, is kind of like that, where it's mostly he's just really talking to you, but he just sprinkles it in where it makes sense. His time, like he's just. I've always been a fan, but that if you haven't heard it, like I'm not gonna ruin it, but the kicker the pussy joke is maybe one of the best written jokes of all time. I forgot what special it starts. I think it's the
shit. It was a more recent one on Netflix, right?
Equanimity or something like that. It was like a weird name.
Equanimity,
something like that.
It was like anonymity and fucking no.
Yeah. But it's he doesn't even, I don't even, he doesn't really open with it, but it's in the first 10-15 minutes, and it's just fucking perfect because he knows it. He knows how good he is, and he literally is telling you. Not in a cocky way, but in a definitely a confident way. And he tells you, he does it in reverse. He tells you the punchline. And then takes you on this journey, and you still die laughing when he then reiterates the punchline, telling you that this is what it was going to be. And it's just it's a master class in performance right there. It's awesome. If you haven't seen it. Oh man, it's worth it just as like a study of comedy. Like even if you're not a comedy fan, like I don't know, I'm like
I love that, like a deconstruction.
I was like, this is the best. I was like, this he's that. Or after that, I was like, GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. It's right there. Like there's literally no debate. I think other comedians tweeted that as well. Like so after they're like, well, he's the GOAT. Like we can all quit if or whatever. Like we could just stop debating it. Like that's it. He's the best of all time. And then he obviously went on and won the Mark Twain Award for comedy, and his acceptance speech there was awesome. Like he's the man.
He really
and he's doing like socially distanced COVID shows out in. He lives in Ohio, just out in rural.
Is that where he lives for real?
Yep, rural Ohio.
What brought him out there?
And
where's he from originally? Is he from
DC? Well, that's where he's got his start. I don't know if he's born there.
That's where he did that's where the Killing Him Softly was recorded. I know that.
But so he's referred to or known as like a DC comic. That's where he started. But yeah, he lives out in like rural fucking Ohio, and he's doing shows out there like in a gazebo basically. Like that's the stage. That's what the 846 one was recorded. Like he's doing that like all the time, and other comedians are going out there, and he's doing these little socially safe shows out there. Ooh, how's that for some onomatopoeia? Alliteration. Sorry, wrong literary device.
Socially safe. How do you socially safe shows?
Yeah,
socially safe shows.
That shows is
say socially safe sex shows.
Ooh. How
7 times fast.
Okay, on that note, I think I don't know. I'm satisfied. Paused on what we got at. I think we hit what we wanted to, at least as the start point of like, all right, let's just start in the direction and let's try to do it justice.
Yeah.
I think clearly a bunch of people would disagree, and I don't care. But I think the takeaway is we're friends. We disagreed on some stuff. Maybe not too many things, but just the way.
Sometimes I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about either. I'm just like,
that's obvious. But what? Oh shit! There goes my mic. But no, again, the whole point of this to begin with is just let's talk about these in an objective way, in a fair way.
Fucking levity every once in a
yeah,
while.
well, without a doubt. Like let's not. None of us should take ourselves that serious. Generally speaking, that's why I like stand up. Like I'm a fan of comedians and comedy and just the, I don't know. I guess the aura that goes along with it, or the thought process. That's what it almost was like. In a way, like before starting this, I was like, maybe I should just go do open mics. So at the very least, I could say that I did stand up, and then maybe that gives you that license to be a little more edgy. You know what I'm saying?
It's just like you offend somebody, just say it's okay. I'm a comedian.
It's okay. No, I'm just trying out material.
That's like when people just like blatantly invade other people's private spaces, and they're like, no, it's cool. We're shooting a video. No, it's not fucking cool. It's actually less cool because you're shooting a video. Like you just offended me, and now it's a joke. So you did it at my expense with me unknowing. And now you're like, no, we're shooting a video. So it makes me not want to kick your ass. Like, I always love that when they try to stop people from kicking their ass by telling them we're shooting a video.
Oh, Sam had to clarify. And
he loves his stand-up,
that,
not the
that
show.
she does like Chappelle as a stand-up. This is news to me, and it just was the show she didn't like. Because I've definitely talked to her about his. Yo, fuck you, Sam. I don't think you're being honest here. Because I've tried to talk to you about these specials, and I think you just blew me off. We'll talk about that in private.
Oh. So what happened? She said that she doesn't like it once, and then all of a sudden she supports it down the road.
I don't know. Maybe she had to change her
Sam,
heart.
you should be a politician too.
Can we? All right, let's end on this. The flip-flopping.
Flip-flopping.
That was such a thing. That was such a political like term of like the person is a flip-flopper, and they would use an example from like 25 years ago, and it's like, but if you thought they were wrong 25 years ago, isn't it a good thing that isn't that evolving as a person? It's a little different if it's like last month you said this and now you say this, but if it's over the course of 10, 15, 20, 25 years, again, obviously the specifics, devils are in the details, but wouldn't just generally you can like your thoughts can grow? Otherwise, we would have never abolished slavery, right? Like we would have never like we'd still be in like caveman era type shit because you're not allowed to evolve thoughts and your personality as a person. Like, why is flip flopping is like automatically such a bad
I think when
connotation?
you flip flop, but you recognize your old stance in your flop, then it's fine. You say, listen, if you can justify why you see it differently versus just going on record seeing something one way or saying I stand for this, and then even if it's 5 years later, say, oh, well, now I stand for this. Still, maybe you should say how you got there.
I mean, maybe that's the political game because I'm going to say that there probably are examples of that happening, but the person's still attacking him for it. Just because you'd have to like search out that information when it's just easier to be like, it's a flip-flopper and no one's ever going to look that up, so it's cool. I don't know.
I don't know. Like that, I don't know if like people who speak publicly so often
even remember what they say.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not throwing her under the bus, but there is a vice presidential candidate that has said one thing and then said another, and people flip flop in politics all the time. Trump's guilty of it too.
I don't even know if he flip flops because it just seems like
I think he reaches into his pocket and pulls out whatever the fuck opinion he wants to at the time. He's got like,
you know how some politicians like they're like, oh, they just put their finger in the air and wherever way the wind's blowing, that's what they're going with. It seems like you can hear him say this. Like it was actually in the debate. A good example of it was when he was talking about masks. Like he's just trying to appeal to everyone. He's like trying to cover all the bases. He's like, I have no problem with masks. He's like, I'll wear a mask. He's like, when I need to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask. But Dr. Fauci said don't even wear masks. But but then he said you should, and I think you can. But like he's all over the fucking place. I'm like, what are you even trying to tell me?
He throws his own words that discredit his own like state. Like he'll say, yeah, I wear a mask all the time. Sometimes maybe. And
on
masks,
Sundays.
and masks help you immensely sometimes. Like he like throws these like words that like a big statement and then just this small little word that like
take
totally
it back a little, like backhand compliments,
like waters it down. Like we are gonna have a vaccine in 3 weeks probably. Like okay,
they're
like,
good people.
How can you be so
sides.
astute about something and then add probably at the end?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's literally the joke. Sexy, kind of.
Some people say that it was the best, but it was one of the best ones. Like it was so bigly that we did it this way, and it's tremendous. Some people will disagree, yeah, and I'll do it if I feel like, I should be doing that. But he said that we shouldn't, and sometimes he's right about that. But like I'm doing it now. All right. We're fucking losing it, that's for sure.
Yeah, man, delirium's sinking in. We're watching too much TV.
But shout out to everybody who was with us on the live chat. Like
shout
that's
out
pretty
to both
cool.
of you.
Yeah,
not everybody, but both of you.
I mean, I was trying to, like big us up a little because the people.
Hey, listen. Last week we had one person.
The
this
people
week,
listening
we had two.
just to the audio wouldn't know that. So
true, very true. Shout out to the chat.
And we're all about
chatters.
Deceiving people here. So. So yeah, we're gonna sign out for today, and I think as far as the live version of this goes, we'll probably Wednesday 7:00. I think is
Wednesdays at 7 is seeming like a good time.
Yeah.
Get by 3 hours later it's 10:00. Still have a couple hours left in the day as far as my day is concerned.
Yeah,
but
we still get other stuff done. anything you want to sign off with, and then I'll give them all social media shit to follow. I'll take that as a no.
No, he said something mean. He was like, 2 of us just don't really seem to like you. And there are 4 of us. By the way, out of the 4 viewers, I think I'm one of them because I'm watching the stream on my phone.
Yeah, no, that definitely counts.
Yeah, so I count as the 3rd viewer, and then the 4th viewer. I don't know if Twitch just has like somebody sitting there watching us, or if that's an actual silent viewer.
I mean, it could be. But who cares? So anyway,
he's a regular viewer on the show, and he knows the bits. That's what he says.
Awesome.
Well, and then he's overusing the monkey emoji, which is starting to freak me out.
Ooh, I might put an.
Oh, by the way, Will, to call him out, he did get onto a little Facebook feud today. I noticed.
I don't care.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
We're talk about inside jokes to the whole world.
You're right. We'll edit that motherfucker out.
Yeah, for sure. But that's actually one of the things is on the prior iterations of this podcast, nothing was ever edited out. I was like, if it happened, it happened. It is what it is.
All right.
But yeah, maybe I'll take that out. Anyway.
And me coughing at the beginning.
So definitely leaving that in.
Leave it.
So so we're gonna sign off for now. Wednesdays, 7:00 Eastern Standard Time, twitch.tv/DJ Traction, and I'm gonna have to spell it out for you. DJTRACKTION. Why? Because I started my DJ career all into hip hop, and you have to spell it different to be cool. So that's
Should clarify that there's not a Y at the end of Traction because you spelled it out and then you said Y.
Oh shit! I
so
used the word
TREACKTION.
Why is that? Fucking everybody up.
This is literally like the Mickey Mouse Club.
All right, so one more time.
It is PART. Why? Because we gotta.
It is twitch.tv/DJTRACKTION. That will take you to the live stream.
Oh, maybe it wasn't the Mickey Mouse Club. Sorry.
Whatever. Objective Behavior, Instagram. That's a good one to follow. We post some memes and also kind of sometimes preview some of the discussions. I'll post something and I have a whole bunch that I typed up there that is just explaining whatever the post is. And then sometimes it's just bullshit memes because they're funny. So there's a little balance there. You can follow the Facebook page as well. It's Objective Behavior. The links go up for the live show. There's objectivebehavior.com. The past audio of the podcast are up there, so you can check out all the shit that we did before we decided to make it a live video version. And anywhere you listen to podcasts, Stitcher, I think it's on Spotify. It's definitely on iTunes. All those spots. It goes SoundCloud. It goes everywhere. So no excuses. Find the audio. You can also email objectivebehavior@gmail.com. Or you can just use any of those social media outlets and let us know what's bothering you. What subject do you hate how people are discussing about, or you just don't have the time to parse through all the fucking information about it. Let us know what topic it is. Maybe we'll take it on and we'll do a deep dive and see if it makes sense to talk about it for us. All right. Until next time. Peace out.